2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you. A lot of stuff to get into and talk about today. We will talk some Chiefs football, certainly. We'll hang out with Daniel Holmes coming up in the noon hour, RGR football and NFL33.com. Get his thoughts on the draft, the 7 picks, maybe some undrafted free agents, positions that may be open for the Chiefs, where the battle's going to be, what's this offense going to look like, defense without L'Jarius Sneed, adding in Hayden, adding in Hicks. We'll also look at Matt Miller from ESPN, went through his top 100 draft picks, ranked 1 through 100 of the draft picks, given value, fit, scheme, all of those things, and we'll see where the Chiefs' selections and how many of the Chiefs' selections ended up in that top 100. We'll talk about that throughout the show, and again, Daniel Harms coming up at noon. Mick Schaefer, 1 o'clock. KSHB 41 Sports Director is our guest. We'll talk some Royals today as they stop the losing streak. 3 games in a row they had lost, and they win yesterday in a fantastic outing by Cole Reagans. It had everything. It had strikeouts. It had some, working around some a base runner. It had Royals, coming through with clutch hits. It had a Massey home run, and it had an injury scare. Everything that goes on in a baseball game, just for all the drama. Although we find out now that it was a cramp in his left calf, and I've never been more excited to hear that somebody's calf was cramping than Cole Reagans. As
give the man a banana.
Got one right here. If he needs the banana, give him some pickle juice.
Dog, that is for banana bread.
Get some
No, dude, this is perfectly fine. You open that up, this is a perfectly fine banana. You don't be.
That's banana bread banana.
No, it's not. Don't be discouraged by, the brown coloring on there. That's just getting right, baby. I'd much rather have this than the bright yellow that you bite into and you're like, oh.
Let me grab my banana. My banana's in the office. I'll grab my banana.
Great.
And I will compare bananas.
Don't think we need
I'll
to.
show you what a ripe banana looks like.
I think you're walking into something that you're not going to like. I think you want to compare that, buddy.
We'll review that Friday.
Yep. About 1:45 coming up in a couple of days.
You could also use that hot shot stuff they were using for the women's soccer tournaments and their
That's
league,
right.
where
Yep,
they
just
immediately
spray it on
bomb
there.
and it somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but
You
it
can
makes you. It's so painful. I remember it's so painful that it makes you forget you're cramping.
Yeah, that's right. And they were immediately right. It was like vomiting. Or maybe you spray it on the calf, whatever they sprayed on the bees last night.
That was awesome.
In Arizona, with the beekeeper.
Threw at the first pitch.
Dude, it's amazing. He's getting the crowd fired up when he's up there
Throws
on the
mask
lift.
off, too,
flips
like
the
a
mask.
wrestler.
It was,
That was
awesome, man. If you didn't see that, there was a bee delay in Arizona last night because a hive of bees had decided to colonate on the backstop, the netting, top of the netting, and there was a delay last night because of that. I've never seen that before, but apparently it is a thing. Game had got canceled because a colony of bees decided to just hang out at the baseball field, and it didn't go to like one specific spot. It was just all over the place, and they just had to simply get everybody off the field.
Where was Randy Johnson when you needed him?
Right, yeah.
Seriously, Randy would have taken care of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's hell of a control, though. That'd be more Greg Maddux.
Oh, you think?
You
Yeah,
need Maddux to spot the pitches.
Yeah.
I mean, bees are, it's either Greg Maddux or Daniel LaRusso. One of the two that are able to just get that bee or a fly, whatever it is.
James MacArthur.
Yep, spotting the pitches. That's what you need. So we'll talk some Royals baseball. They lose 3 in a row, but again, they win last night. They are 2 games out of first place. They're 18-13. They have broken the record for the most wins in the month of April. The most wins in a month for the Royals since June 2017, having 17 wins in a month. They have 18 wins on the season. They got to 18 wins in June last year. So we'll talk about a number of those things. And we'll also, I want to look at the pitching staff for what they're doing. And with Seth Lugo on the mound today, an interesting sort of look of, he had 9 strikeouts last time out. He wasn't getting the strikeouts. He was getting the soft contact, some base runners. He was leaving them on base at an extremely high clip. And it still is. It's almost 90% of base runners he's leaving them on base. Because he's not walking people either, so he's not facing a lot of batters as well. So we'll talk about that and also what Brady Singer has done with the addition of the 4-seamer, but some underlying numbers if there is some concern there of maybe reality hitting with what would be the surface numbers and the underlying things that may change the surface numbers. So we'll get into that. We start with the Kansas City Chiefs, 913-912-4810. We start with stadium talk. And the Kansas legislator yesterday, on Monday night they had passed out of committee the star bonds for a stadium or two for the Chiefs and the Royals to try to attract them over to the Kansas side, to the Legends, and over by the Speedway and Children's Mercy Park. And the expectation was that last night it was going to be talked about in the House and the Senate, and it was going to then be passed. They never got around to talking about it last night. So they have ended their annual session without discussing that. Now, Governor Kelly can call a special legislative session, but that's going to be more about taxes. They could bring that up then. There's a little bit of an opening here, and I don't know how much sense of urgency Missouri is going to have because they got some issues on their own with Medicaid and trying to, finance all of that stuff and the filibuster and the stalemate of everything going on. So there are a lot of things on the plate over the next couple of weeks for the session that's in for the Missouri legislature right now. But there is an opportunity to sort of say, not only are we willing to, we're going to show, at least in good faith early on, that we're going to be competitive, if not more competitive, than what Kansas is going to offer. And you don't have to go to a different state or relocate if you're the Chiefs and staying at Arrowhead, or the Royals and going downtown, or whatever it might be. I'm not saying that they need to get something done, but I think it would be, from the Chiefs and the Royals' perspective, would probably show the seriousness of Missouri. But I think they caught a break by Kansas not discussing it, because it eliminates any sense of urgency to where now they can focus on the more important things, which is, all of the tax stuff and Medicaid and everything that they got going on. Focus on that. If you then have time, then yes, maybe you can discuss these things, but there isn't a feeling of, okay, well now the Royals, because if last night it had passed, the Royals would have June 2025 to decide and the Chiefs, both would have until June 2025 to decide if they were willing to accept this offer from Kansas. That's a very small timeline. They could certainly, it would sunset at that point. They could vote for an extension and all of those things. But there would be more of a, hey, this is serious. This is how quickly it's happening. Where Missouri doesn't have to go down that route now because Kansas didn't talk about it last night. But it is a shot across the bow.
Like, why
I got a lot of stuff going on too. It was the last night of the session, and
they're talking about ripping down more trees in my yard.
Probably,
Come
yes.
on.
That's what they were discussing. The Holmes yard. Can we get around to that? That's exactly what was on. I'm reading the docket. Robert's Rules of Order, old business, trees in Sterling Holmes' yard.
Just ripped it down one morning.
Yeah.
And
it's public.
I didn't get a notification.
Yeah,
they did plant 2 more trees in honor of that tree.
See,
but,
there you go.
They made up for it. They made up for it. But talk about this. This is more important than potholes. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
To you. Well, if there's a pothole in your neighborhood.
Well, then take care of that pothole.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes. I'm looking through the minutes here, and it was Sterling Holmes' front yard. You're right.
Yeah,
was that
one?
You can go right now to Kansas legislator Sterling Holmes. It was the first order on
how
old
do we
business.
mess with his yard? How do we mess with it?
It's exactly
highlighted
right.
and bolded.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. So that's where we are right now, with both sides of the state line, with the Chiefs and the Royals. The rendering was put out, video, last night of roof, dome, retractable, whatever it is. We just saw just the stadium and what the surrounding area can look like. So let's start there. What's the reaction to seeing the video, seeing what the very, very early initial, at least, hey, we're serious, we've even put this design together for you. What's your reaction to the video? Either one of you.
Jack, you go first.
Oh, wow,
you put
he's
me on
throwing
the
it to
spot.
you.
All right, put me on the
throwing
spot.
it to you.
I'll go if you want me to.
I can.
I feel like I've talked already more than Jack, and I feel like I need to.
You're fine, man.
Did
I don't
like
want to step on any toes. So
Well,
I'm
I'm
just
Jason
rolling.
Williams. I'm going behind the back, elbow pass to Rafe LaFrance right here.
Very random,
You know the
callback.
pass. You know the pass.
I know
One
the
of you
pass.
would have given an answer already if we would have just.
That's a good point. I guess I'll go here.
Dylan, you want to lead us off with this?
I want it in Kansas, so I'm biased. A little
There you
biased.
go.
All
There
right.
you go.
See, I know renderings are important and they are to show that you are serious about things. They just don't really do it for me. I feel like I've seen too many renderings that didn't happen that it doesn't move me anymore. Like we got so caught up in the Royals renderings downtown and the renderings to the renovated Arrowhead Stadium, and we got people all excited, and then it didn't happen. Or at least for this point in time, it didn't happen. So when this rendering popped up, it was like, well, I mean, yeah, it's something to look at again, but I kind of feel like anybody at this point can create a rendering. I mean, I've seen across leagues, right? We've seen renderings of Oakland's Las Vegas Stadium. It's like, well, that's cool. That is going to happen eventually, but it's so far away, and it's really going to look like that. So I thought it was a cool design, right? A retractable roof is certainly something, but also the way I think the NFL is moving, that pretty much every team is going to have a retractable roof, unless it's going to be teams like the Packers who just stay at Lambeau forever and don't have that dome, even though I guess you just brave the conditions of sub-zero temperatures. But I don't know. It was a cool rendering. It looked nice, but maybe I'm just burned out from the renderings we just saw downtown. It doesn't move the needle for me that much.
I'm the same way. Renderings almost never look like the actual result. It gets passed down and passed down and passed down. You're like, oh, this looks nothing like we originally were promised. The only thing that I thought did stand out, as Jack, you alluded to, was the retractable roof. I love that. I love it because then you can have just a multitude of different events. The Super Bowl obviously is the first one that comes to mind. I'm not saying I want it open during Chiefs games, but having that to allow you to host a Super Bowl to me makes a lot of sense. I did love the atrocious Dove or Dove, whatever the Kleiman guy, that fake AI account basically.
Dove Kleiman,
on Twitter, and he goes, trying to lure the team to Kansas City as if they're not already in Kansas City.
No, I quote tweeted and I said, "Man, can you imagine how special it would be if the Chiefs were in Kansas City? God, that'd be so cool, man.
30 minutes away.
I would love for the Chiefs to be in Kansas. Imagine what sports radio would be like in Kansas City if the Chiefs were in Kansas City. You'd have Mahomes living here, Kelsey, maybe Taylor Swift. You'd have 3 Super Bowls in 5 years. God, that would be amazing. Oh, well, I guess we'll just keep talking about the checks notes. Chiefs.
Yeah, those Twitter accounts are the absolute worst thing.
His might be the absolute worst.
Is it ML football as well?
Both of those are bad.
These rumors happening.
Or the My Link in bio. Those are also pretty bad. No?
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That took me a
I
second to
was
register.
waiting for Jack to get that one.
That took me a moment to register, but I got you.
Yeah, but...
Yeah. I always hate when it's like replies, show more, click nudes and bio. All right.
I was thinking someone was going to be gracious and say something
who's
nice
really
to me.
mean to me? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, there you go. So, show more replies. Okay, then who's the one that used the curse word or click? All right, let's move on.
I will say this rendering, though, looked a lot better than the original one the Chiefs put out, so at least there's that.
Well, I have a few things with this. I'm generally in agreement that the renderings, we've seen so many of them now, that, they all look really cool. By the time it actually happens, well, then this may be taken out, or there's an overage over here. Well, this really didn't work. It doesn't look nearly as cool with this on that. Like, I totally understand that, and I'm typically and generally in agreement with that particular take on the rendering. I love Arrowhead Stadium. Absolutely love Arrowhead Stadium. I also believe Arrowhead Stadium is special because of the fans. So it's difficult for me to hear people say you can't move away from Arrowhead Stadium because of how loud it is and go somewhere else that may not be as loud, and then talk about how great the fans are out at the stadium, because now you're saying it's loud because of the acoustics. So maybe the acoustics help, but I think the Chiefs fans are what makes it loud. Now, if you're talking about number of seats, if now you're 60,000 instead of 72, 73, yeah, I understand that. If it's 60,000 with the number of suites and people aren't as crazy, you don't have, backwards visor with the sport coat in the front row of Chiefs games anymore, which I love that guy. Love seeing him every single game.
He looks a lot like me.
He does
I
look
have
like
gotten
you.
that.
Yes.
Many people have texted me and said, "Is that you?" And I'm like,
they're already two crazy fans down. You no longer have an X Factor or anybody that is drunk on Chiefs. You have no X Factor or someone who is addicted to the Chiefs.
Yeah, but Puppet Lady's going strong, and that's what really matters.
Arrow Man ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, just don't give this guy a name. That's where we go wrong.
Exactly.
Is once he starts to get a name.
It's a sport coat guy.
Yeah.
They always show him like he's always
Visor
screaming.
guy.
He's always screaming. I love it. He is. There's no way that guy ever has a voice the day after a Chiefs game. Nope. Zero chance. Never has a voice the day after a Chiefs game. You know what? And I appreciate the commitment that's there. And it is fans like him, which is what makes Arrowhead Stadium so loud. Okay? So that's the first thing, is it's not just the, well, if you're a real or true Chiefs fan, you have to stay at Arrowhead Stadium. I kind of feel like I'm a real and true Chiefs fan, and I absolutely love Arrowhead Stadium. But I would love the retractable roof. I would love some of the new amenities. They'd be cool. I'd love the opportunity for a Final Four in Kansas City to be in the rotation. This is still the city that has hosted the most Final Fours in NCAA tournament history. The history is here. John Wooden's first championship was won at Muni. So this is a place to where it'd be cool if it got on the rotation with that. All right. A Super Bowl one time, that'd be awesome too. You'd get one of them. Well, how cool is that? I don't know. How cool will the World Cup be? Because how many World Cups are they going to get? Well, we know they got one, so when's the next World Cup that they're going to get at Arrowhead Stadium? I don't know, but it's pretty badass that they have one at Arrowhead Stadium. What I think will separate Kansas and the Truman Sports Complex for the Chiefs is you look at the area that it can provide when Kauffman Stadium is torn down. And that's going to be a sad day for me, okay? I will probably shed some tears when Kauffman Stadium is torn down, okay? People that voted no, you did not save the K, okay? The lease is up in 6 years. 10 years from now, it's not going to be there anymore, all right? And that's going to be a sad day. What the Chiefs do if they stay at the Truman Sports Complex with that area, we'll see. I don't believe for a second what their plan would be for the next 25 years is just to offer an activation zone. Although I didn't see any activation zones in the rendering, so I'm wondering if the Chiefs really are on board with this. I don't know.
You know what I did see?
What?
Was a way better concert area. They built like a elevated grass concert area.
And that's what
and
that's something that the Royals in North Kansas City's rendering had, sort of that amphitheater area, more of an entertainment type district. What Kansas offers that Truman Sports Complex cannot is if the Chiefs were wanting to be on board with some hotels, right, some real estate development, some other means of income to generate revenue. You're not filling that hotel up for cheap, outside of the 8 to 10 dates per year and then concerts. That's it. At the Legends, you've got the race, you've got sporting, you've got the Arrowhead Stadium, and they're building the new Mattel theme park that families will be going to. You've got Great Wolf Lodge. You've got more reasons for people to go and stay. Ooh, let's stay at that hotel right next to Arrowhead Stadium. That's pretty badass. Let's stay there. It's a quick Uber ride over to whatever, theme park. It's a quick Uber ride. It's a walk or wherever it's going to be over to sporting. Oh, we'll walk and take whatever to the race. But how awesome would it be to stay at that hotel that overlooks Arrowhead Stadium? Let's go. You can't offer that at Truman Sports Complex. It's just simply reality. Kansas can offer that, but you lose the history, you lose the nostalgia, you lose the connection of what you said with Clark Hunt talking about his dad and bringing the team to Kansas City and Arrowhead Stadium and what that means to the Hunt family. We'll all find out how much it means. Does it mean so much that they're willing to pass up the amenities that Missouri cannot offer, that the Truman Sports Complex cannot offer to the Chiefs? Is it worth that much to them? I think part of it would be Missouri passing legislation to legalize sports gaming, because in Kansas you can also offer that. Now, a team can't open up their own book, but you can enter into a contract with a book, and you can put that in your hotel. So now you've got gambling revenue coming in on the Kansas side. Where I've said before, I think the rendering for the Chiefs, the, quote, activation zone, was a placeholder for if Missouri passed gaming, there would be a hotel that would also have a connection with a sports book that you could put in there as well, and there would be the extra revenue, and maybe that drives people there, would be one of the only things that could drive you there. Because it would be people are like, oh, it's easy in and out to the K, right? It's easy. Okay, well, now you don't have to drive all the way down to the river, if you wanted to do that. If you're in Lee Summit or whatever, you drive right there, boom, there's a sports book right there next to Arrowhead Stadium. But that would have to happen first. Kansas already has that happening. So there are some ingrained advantages on the Kansas side. There is nostalgia. There's history. There's the fans that want to keep Arrowhead Stadium. There's tradition at Arrowhead right now. But that's going to be measured up against the business side of
Revenue and money.
revenue and money and ways to increase cash flow, which can then help out with contracts because the Chiefs are typically down the line when it comes to cash spending, even though, well, they're always up near the top of the salary cap. Yes, by rules in the NFL, you are required to be some percentage close to the salary cap. There is a salary floor. But in terms of cash spending, Chiefs are typically near the bottom. It's one of the reasons why I believe the Bengals are having the problems that they are right now. Because escrow for Joe Burrow's guaranteed money, and now you're talking about what T. Higgins and what Trey Hendrickson want in guaranteed money. The Browns, the Brown owners, the family, their billions are in the team. You know, they don't have the oil money like, say, other families may have or other businesses that they may have. Their wealth is tied up into the team. Not very liquid to just throw $200 million into escrow one day. Write a check. There's $200 million. Good to go. And I think that's why T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson and why the Bengals will have trouble in today's and the future's salary cap.
Already because have of Jesse Bates.
Exactly.
They've lost so many players.
Exactly. And this is part of the, can it help sign players or keep them around? Well, if there's more cash flow, doesn't mean that the Hunts are going to put that back into the team. That's for us in the media, those that are voted representatives, to hold their feet to the fire and keep them accountable. That extra income and revenue, John Sherman with your ballpark district, Clark Hunt with whatever entertainment district, goes back into the team.
Yeah.
And why is it not going back into the team? That's on us to hold them accountable for those things if it gets there. I also believe this, and we'll take a time out and talk a little bit more about it. Do you believe that the were the Chiefs aware that the video was coming out last night?
That's a good question.
I think 100% they were aware.
You'd have to be. Just with everything happening on the Kansas side of things, you'd have to
100%.
at least. Yeah.
100% aware. And the first thing that popped in my head when that video came out was the press release from North Kansas City saying, we are players for the Royals. We're going to go and challenge Jackson County. We're challenge Kansas City. We're bringing them over to this county. We're bringing them over to North Kansas City. And we're like, what's that all about? And the Royals were like, yeah, we're cool with that. Yeah, turns out, that is something we've been doing and talking about. They knew exactly that rollout. That was strategic. That was planned. As soon as the no vote happened, Kansas was reaching out. There have been conversations. I don't care what anybody says. Well, there haven't been conversations. Well, maybe you haven't had conversations. But hey, do you mind if we put something together real quick of like what a rendering would look? Yeah, sure, go right ahead. I'm cool with it. Hey, by the way, we're going to release this Tuesday night. Oh, cool, great. They're aware. They're perfectly fine with anything that comes, because then that gets a spur and a little bit of a nudge to Missouri to go, they're already getting their bleeping order over there. So, yeah, I think they were 100% aware. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back continually. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, Jack Johnson hanging out. We'll talk some Chiefs coming up here in the show as well. 913-912-4810 is the text line, 913-912-4810. The text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. Royals win last night. Cole Reagan's on the mound, and the Royals take care of business, and they get ready for the afternoon game against the Toronto Blue Jays today at 2:07. We mentioned this off the top of the show that 17 wins, the most in the month of April. Most wins in the month of April ever. The most wins in a month since June 2017. Salvi extended his 20-game on-base streak. I repeat, Salvi extended his 20-game on-base streak. Cole Reagan's yesterday broke the record for most strikeouts in March and April combined with 46. Zach Greinke previously held the record with 44. Kevin Appier, 43. James Shields, 41. Kevin Appier, 39. James Shields, 39. Cole Reagan's now the new record holder for most strikeouts in March/April in Royals history. Those are just a couple of the things that happened last night. And the fact that I think it's pretty significant that the longest losing streak, what's the longest losing streak for the Royals this year?
Three.
It's happened a couple times, right? So they lose 3, they won 4, then they lose 3. Now they're obviously going to win 4. That's just obvious.
Patterns. It's patterns.
Yes, that's for sure. There are a number of signs about how it's different than last year. We've seen that. We're 31 games in. We've discussed it as well. And I think the fact that the longest streak is 3 games, right? And last year they had 7 and 8. They had 7-game losing streaks, multiple. They had double-digit. Like, we've seen double-digit losing streaks. I don't know what the longest losing streak will be this year, but this feels about right. It feels about right with the pitching staff they have, assuming health. They already have one guy on the IL. And bringing somebody up, that didn't work out all that well. They ended up losing that game with Bolin on the mound. Luckily, it was just a cramp for Cole Reagans, and he was more mad at himself for walking the guys rather than mad screaming into his glove because he was injured, because we've seen that before with guys leaving the field knowing they're injured, screaming into their glove. And we've seen guys scream into the glove because they're frustrated of what took place on the mound, and that was more Cole Reagan's last night. It was a really good win. Royals took care of business, but I feel like just simply winning the game is part of the this is different than years past because it's only a 3-game losing streak. And they found a way to win game number 17 in April, and they have 18 wins. And last year, win number 18 came early June.
Well, what's hard is the AL Central, as we all predicted, is the best division in baseball. 4 teams over 500.
Juggernauts.
The only division.
Yeah, and the Twins have won 9 in a row?
9 in a row.
Jeez, break them up.
The only division with 4 teams 500 or better, it's the AL Central. Don't worry about 5. Don't worry about number 5 and the White Sox.
Why are you paying attention to that stuff?
It's the top 4.
Yeah. It's been amazing so far what we've seen with this team. What's more amazing? The Royals have won 17 games in the month of April. Reagan's
18.
break in the month of April, though. 18 games total so far.
They got one at the end of March.
One at the end of March.
Yeah. Semantics.
18 wins, and their 18th win was early June last year.
Yeah.
But 17 wins, the most wins in April. Reagan's is believable that he broke the strikeout record for, the March and April. Or Salvi's 20-game on-base streak. Because I actually don't know what's more. Because if you told me 2 years ago that, hey, in 2024, the Royals are going to be 18-13, have the most wins in a month since June 2017, or Salvi's on a 20-game winning streak or a 20-game on-base streak, what's more likely? Well, I don't know. I certainly wouldn't say both, although one could lead to the other. But I obviously the wins are happening with Salvi being a part of it, but Like I joked yesterday, but it's like Ponce de Leon, like he found the fountain of youth. He's just Sterling keeps joking about 33 years old. That's the prime for the catchers.
Prime for catchers.
Catcher's prime is 33 years
Big
old.
catchers at that.
It's heavy catchers that carry a lot of weight when they're having to get in that crouch position and get back up and everything. Those knees are perfectly fine.
Everyone knows this. I mean, this is just common
everybody
knowledge.
Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I think Salvi's on-base streak is certainly something to behold, but not just what he's doing at the plate, what he's doing behind the plate.
Yeah.
This is the best defense that he's ever shown, really, at least advanced metric-wise, in his career, and it's happening at the age of 33. And a lot of credit does need to go to Paul Hoover. I think Paul Hoover has done a great job with the catchers, making sure that they're stealing strikes for pitchers, they're setting up in the proper way, just overall improving their game. And I think that's also why we've seen the pitching staff, become where it's at through the first month of the season. And I remember back when they signed Walker and Lugo, one of the first things they said in their press conferences was that they wanted to throw to Salvador Perez. And I kind of chuckled at that because I'm like, well, he's not going to steal many strikes for you. I mean, yeah, he's got the name, he's got the All-Star games, he's got the Gold Gloves, but now in his career, it's like he's not really known for his abilities behind the plate. He's just one of the better and power-hitting catchers in the game. But now you're seeing everything come together. Not so much at the plate for a handful of guys, but I think defensively, that's been what I've been so impressed about, more so than maybe the starting rotation, more so than Salvador Perez. You've had guys that in their careers have not been bad, but liabilities in the field become at least average or actually above average. MJ Melendez, probably because he went from catcher to the outfield, you're going to have a growing pain there, but now he's fine in left field. You saw somebody like Vinny Pasquantino go from a below-average defender to, at least as early as last week, being number one in the AL among first basemen in defensive runs saved. Salvador Perez, all of a sudden his defensive rating is going up. Freddie Fermin was fine. He's, continuing to stay the course there. Garcia, Bobby Witt Jr., Massey are going to be fine. Really, your only liability is in right field in Hunter Renfroe, and he can still throw the hell out of the ball.
Yeah, so if
that's one thing he can give you, across the board, that's what I've been so impressed with. And I think Jose Aguasil, Paul Hoover, all of those guys, Damon Hollins as well with the outfielders, they've done a really good job assembling this team. And that's why I think you've seen them get off to a hot start, because it's all kind of coming together, and they're playing the way that J.J. Piccolo envisioned they could play early on in the season.
Brady Singer has added the four-seamer to his pitch arsenal. Essentially, he's just changed 15% of his sinkers to four-seamers. So, his now most used pitch is the slider, whereas in his career the most used pitch was the sinker because he wasn't throwing four-seamers. So now the slider is the most used pitch because 15% of those, two-seamers have become four-seamers. He threw 32 four-seamers in his career. 32 total four-seamers in his career. This is amazing. He's already thrown 79 this year. His changeup percentage is back down to pre-2022 levels. And to me, the significance of this, and we'll see what the staying power is for Brady Singer. I do want to talk about some of the underlying numbers for Singer if there is a quick fall back to reality for what his numbers may end up being. But to me, it's significant that the previous regime was you got to have a changeup, you got to have a changeup, you got to have a changeup, you got to have a changeup. If you don't have a changeup, you need a third pitch, and it must be a changeup. Your third pitch must be a changeup. If you got a third pitch, you got to have a changeup. It was all about the changeup. You won't throw the changeup, we're going to send you back down to the minor leagues to learn how to throw a changeup. This regime is, well, what are you comfortable with? It almost seems like you aren't comfortable throwing the changeup. That's clear. You don't trust it. You're not throwing it. You've worked on it. It's not really happening for you. What about a four-seamer? Throw something in there just to change the shape of the pitch a little bit. And I don't know if that's the difference of just simply why his, ERA and other, points of his numbers have been as good as they have been. Or if it's just the beginning of the season that some things have worked out over 6 starts that may happen in the middle of the season and you put up some decent numbers, but ultimately over the course of the year, the numbers are going to look like the back of your baseball card because he's got a 4+ fielding independent pitching.
Yeah.
And his batting average to balls in play is sub 200. for Brady Singer. A good portion of that is because he's getting so many ground balls.
90th percentile in ground ball rate, yeah.
The scary thing for me is that over 20%, almost 20% of all of his fly balls are home runs. I mean, that's not sustainable because I don't think his ground ball rate is sustainable. Unless you think the four-seamer is why he's hitting more ground balls, which I think is certainly a question. Because if he's adding the four-seamer, changing the shape of others, are they now swinging over the top of a two-seamer, swinging over the top of a slider, thinking maybe it's a four-seamer coming in, it's going to be quote-unquote straighter and staying more on plane than what your sinker, what your slider is going to come in as maybe a heavier pitch, so you're getting more ground balls. But when they're connecting, they're hitting some pretty deep shots. They're hitting some no-doubters this year against Brady Singer. So I don't know what's more likely. The four-seamer has been the change, has been the reason why he's getting so many ground balls, or the ground ball rate is going to subside to where his career average has been. The fly ball rate is going to continue to be what his career average has been, and he's giving up home runs at, 1 out of every fly balls is a home run. So that fielding independent pitching will stay up there while his ERA catches up to that.
What's interesting is he's actually yet to give up a home run on the four-seam fastball. It's actually been the slider. As good as the slider has been for the majority of the season, they're slugging pretty good the rest of the league against his slider. 3 of his 4 home runs he's given up has been against the slider. The majority of his extra base hits have been against the slider. Just something to monitor here because even the changeup, he's only thrown it 20 times. No one's touching his changeup. No one's really touching the sinker. It's that slider. When his slider is off, he becomes a bad pitcher. When his slider is on, I mean, this is not breaking news here for how much he throws, but when his slider's on, it's almost unhittable. It's just it's like the offense. He's either electric or, dude, he's going to be atrocious out there.
Well, I just wonder how much, he's benefited from some luck that has fallen in his favor.
Yeah, a couple of his starts, he's also gotten, that max amount of run support. I mean, he pitched in 2 games where by the second inning it was 7-0 and then 9-0. So I've always been curious of what does he look like when maybe they only give him 2 runs or 3 runs. We saw that on Saturday against Detroit, but he only went 5 innings. But also, you bring up the question, is that all right for a 4-starter? He's not a number 1 or number 2. If your 4-starter goes 5 innings, 2 runs every single time out,
sign me up.
You probably can take it.
I would sign me up for that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. I want to talk some more Royals. There's some other things to get into and talk about with the Royals. We'll also talk some Chiefs football in the 11 o'clock hour as well. Matt Miller ranking the top 100 draft picks from the NFL draft out of 257. What were the top 100 best picks? And we'll look at some of the career numbers for Mahomes in 20-plus yard completions and throws by year and what this year we can expect from that. We'll continue rolling along. More Zone next. coming up today against the Blue Jays. We'll talk some Chiefs football. Definitely want to get into some of the things with this Chiefs team. Also, one of the things we'll talk with Daniel Harms about coming up at noon, I do wonder how many spots are actually available on this team. Like, how many roster spots are open on the Chiefs right now, heading into OTAs? We can talk about starters and things like that. I mean, trying to make the squad. Because, like, a big competition and a battle would be the left tackle spot. How do the wide receiver, what's that, usage rate? How does that shake out? Things like that. But actually making the team, there are not as many spots open as maybe you would think, or maybe you do think. go places.
What
You've
about
lost all your
Centerfold?
friends.
That'd be better.
Centerfold would be a good one. Yeah.
That'd be a really good
Is that
one.
Jay Giles Band? Is that
Yeah.
that Jay Giles
I
Band?
feel like it's more of a family event there at the Royals. That I don't know that that's really the market
they
they're
play
looking to get
Kiss.
into.
Come on now, they're playing Kiss.
Just saying, I don't think Centerfold needs to be a part of the sixth inning stretch there. But they play center field now
I
in
think-
the
I'm very
in the
sure.
sixth inning.
I've tuned it out because it's such a bad song.
I think it's a great song. I don't know why everybody hates it. I think we should play more of it. It's fun. Opening day, it's the song I want to hear. It gets me rolling. It gets me excited. And I understand why Les Norman would hate it, because he's the one actually out there taking fly balls and batting practice in the minors every single day. And every single day when the gates open up and the fans start showing up and that song is played on repeat and he has to hear it, I understand why he would hate that.
I get it now. Jason's 3 favorite songs: Center Field, Don't Stop Believin', and what's the Boston one?
More Than a Feeling?
No, not the band Boston. The
Oh,
band
Sweet
Boston
Caroline?
slaps.
Sweet
Sweet Caroline. That is
The band
easy.
Boston slaps.
The band Boston's phenomenal. Come on.
I'll take your word for it.
Sweet Caroline is for sure in your top 3 favorite
No, it's
songs.
not.
Yeah. Sweet Caroline.
You're not in my genre
Don't
of music,
Stop
buddy.
Believin'.
You're not in my genre of music. I'll
My
tell you that much.
prerogative, Bobby Brown.
No, you're not in my genre of music. Okay, you're gonna have to go to Sam Cooke and Otis Redding if you're talking about my favorite songs of all time. So
Why don't we play more Uncle Charlie on this show?
it's a great question. I don't know.
Dylan, we could play more Charlie Wilson on this show. I feel like we need it.
I don't know.
Sure.
I liked I like that intro. I like Major League.
I'll mix
you know?
it in. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want. What
I'll take
more
requests back
What more
here,
would
yeah.
you like, Sterling?
Oh, what do I want? What do I
What
want?
would you like, Sterling? Jack, what do you want as an intro music? You've got a couple hours, Monday and Wednesday, and what would you like for an intro music? Let's talk about this on the air.
Heart of the City by Jay-Z.
There you go.
Good one.
There you go. He's going to run this town tonight. He'll do whatever he wants.
What's the Otis Redding song that they did like a little mix of Jay-Z and Kanye back in the day? Do you remember it?
I don't.
Oh, very good. I'll have to send it to you.
Yeah, please
Very good stuff.
send it to me. That'd be great. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Seth Lugo on the mound today. We talked about Brady Singer and sort of some luck and how much that may be the case, but he's not pitching today, so I do want to talk a little bit more about Seth Lugo. He has been awesome. He's been as advertised. I was excited about the Lugo signing. Like Waka got everybody pumped. What Reagan's could be certainly got your juices flowing about could he be a Cy Young winner? And Seth Lugo, to me, was like, we're just making the staff more professional. Like, we're making the staff more major league by bringing in Seth Lugo. And so the luck thing comes up in baseball a lot. We talked about, Sterling, you and I have talked about, Jack, you've talked about, like the luck, the not luck, the where water finds its level. And Lugo is a guy that traditionally gets soft contact. So he is not getting hit really hard and having a 2 ERA and leaving 90% of base runners on base. Okay, so he's generating soft contact. I do believe the strikeouts are lower, except for last outing. I think the strikeouts are lower than what should be expected. So I think it's close. I think Seth Lugo is closer to this than what Brady Singer is to what he's doing, because leaving the guys on base, yes, 90% is a really high clip, but he still has a sub-4 fielding independent pitching, and that's without striking really anybody out, that he's got that going on. So I think he's going to be closer to being almost what he is, not a 2 ERA, but I think he'll strike some more guys out, and I think he's still going to generate, soft contact. So I've been pumped what I've seen from Seth Lugo, and it's like every time out, I feel like 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 6 innings, 3 at max is like what you can expect. And if you can go out there and get him 5, I feel pretty good about the Royals winning today, and a rubber match would be nice for them to win one this year.
Yeah, they're 0-4 in rubber matches this year, and I feel like you've got the guy you want next to Cole Reagan's pitching in a rubber match game. Yeah, I think Seth Lugo's been better than advertised. I mean, he's got a 1.66 ERA. We know that's going to go up at some point. I think what I've been pleased about the most is maybe not so much the 7-inning shutout with 9 Ks. I mean, that's obviously amazing. That's going to be what everybody's pick is. But to me, I go back to his worst start, which was Baltimore. He only had 2 Ks, I think. Baltimore's lineup was ridiculous. They had a 460-foot home run off him. They had a 450-foot home run off him, coming from the 7 and 8 hitters in that lineup. But you look up at the end of that outing, he was 1 out away from a quality start. He went 5 2/3, 4 runs, and I walked away going, man, Seth Lugo didn't have his best stuff. But whereas a lot of guys last year the Royals had, the year before that, you go, he doesn't have his best stuff, he may not get out of the 3rd inning, and it may be 7-0. Like Cole Reagans is the only guy, surprisingly, that imploded. And that was because Baltimore had about 7 or 8 hits under 90 miles an hour, just right where they weren't. And then eventually they started hitting him hard when he got worn down. But everybody else, I think their worst outings, it's still been close enough. Michael Wacha's had about 2 or 3 of those where it wasn't a great start. It wasn't a quality start, but you're keeping the team in the game. And that's what I think Seth Lugo does. I mean, it's a tough lineup he's facing today. Not one that's thriving right now, but top 4 hitters have been really tough for Royals guys like George Springer, Bo Bichette, Vladdy Jr., Justin Turner, Dalton Varsho. I mean, that's going to be the first 5 he faces today. And I just feel like even if he's not on today, you probably can lock him in for 6 innings, 4 runs at worst.
Right, you can lock him in to get to the 6th.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't go 6 full, like you're getting to the 6th. And that's where, like a year ago, when Jordan Lyles was brought in, and it was the, quote, innings eater. And I think that phrase got thrown in Dayton Moore's face a lot last year because, hold on, your innings eater is going 5 innings. And I changed the definition of that last year, and I said he's not an innings eater, he's a start eater. Every 5 days, he's going to start for you. He may only go 5 innings, but he's not going on the IL, right? No. He's a start eater. You need 30 starts from one of your guys. You need 30 starts from 5, however many different pitchers. So you're going to need, somebody to go out there consistently. He's a start eater. Seth Lugo is not a, quote, innings eater because he's been more successful. And typically, if you're more successful, you can pitch later into games. So, shocker, Jordan Lyles was being pulled in the 5th because he sucked. So he wasn't going deep into games because his pitch count was elevated, and so were the runs he was giving up. But Seth Lugo's been good, but he has been a, quote-unquote, innings eater. He's been a bullpen saver because he's pitching at least 6. He's pitched to the 7th inning 4 of the 6 times he's been out there. He's pitched 7, 6 2/3, and so 3 of the 5. So he's got what, 5? He's got 5 starts so far. So this will be a 6th start for the season.
I think he has 6. According, I think he already has 6 already.
Yeah. So I'm trying to find out what. Either way, like he's a guy that's pitching in at least to the 6th.
Yeah.
And he's getting 7 innings. He's not an innings eater. Yeah. So it's 1, 2, 3 of his 6, and the other ones were 6 innings, and then pitched into the 6th in 5 1/3 innings. So he's a guy that's helping your bullpen and going out there and giving you a chance to win the game. I'm with you, Jack. I think he's been better than advertised. I think most people can agree with that. I just wonder how close he is to this the rest of the year. Not a 1.6 ERA, but closer to a 3 ERA the rest of the year, and a guy that is going to go to the 6th or 7th inning, and just every 5 days it's like, cool, Lugo's on the mound. Let's see if the Royals go out there and win this one.
Well, it's hard to find the median for him because he's only been a starter for really 1 year, and that was last year, and he had a 3.57, which I think the Royals would
Yes.
sign up for that. As a bullpen arm throughout his career, obviously a lot of games, 3.39 ERA. Probably a little lower because that's as a reliever, not as a starter, but he does throw 8 pitches, and it's very Jeff Weaver-esque. Or Jared Weaver, sorry. Yeah. Jared Weaver-esque, where you're sitting here going, well, what's his best pitch? He doesn't really have one. He keeps getting weak contact, as you're mentioning. He doesn't walk a lot of guys, so when he does give up these home runs, they're solo shots. They're not 3-run bombs because it was a bloop and a blast. It was, it's just a solo home run.
And he had a 2-run shot robbed that turned into a double play.
Yeah.
So
what's interesting, too, is that this is almost what the previous regime loved. He gets a ton of fly balls. His ground ball percentage is not good. He doesn't strike out hardly anyone. He gets a lot of fly balls, and when you have a great defense, Kyle Isabel, M. Melendez has been better. Hunter Renfroe, okay. Adam Frazier's made a couple of nice plays. He's just getting a lot of fly balls, and in Kauffman, that's worked out for him.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked out sometimes in Baltimore, but I think this is going to be one of those guys where you look at the home road splits as the season goes on. You're going to see he's great at home, and let's just say he plays in New York at Yankees Stadium. You might not want to start him that day.
Oddly enough, his 2 road starts, he's got 14 innings, no earned runs in his 2 starts on the road. which is weird, because it could be that it was at Detroit and at Chicago. So you got Chicago as being one of those road starts. That can deflate, inflate, whichever way you want to look at it. The other one was just this past one against Detroit.
And 424 to center. What's it? 420 to center. So
Agreed.
It's not necessarily a hitter or a hitter's paradise up there.
He hasn't pitched in Yankee Stadium yet.
Yes.
Okay, so
Cincinnati.
that bandbox. By the way, did you see somebody with the Yankees Twitter that tweeted out Oswaldo Cabrera's shot to left field in Baltimore or whatever, and was like, this is a walk-off in like 8 different parks.
It was 6.
And then somebody replied and said, okay, how many pop-ups are home runs in Yankee Stadium?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's not talk about like, oh man, he got robbed, because you're right, it was 6.
It was 6.
This
I'm
is
like,
it was a walk-off in 6 stadiums. Like, yeah, Yankee Stadium is probably one of them. I get that, but it ain't 29 of 30,
It's Houston and the Crawford boxes
Yes.
in Yankee Stadium.
Right, that's
Both
it.
of those stadiums and the live ball era, the juiced ball era, was just unwatchable. There were so many pop-ups that were off the end of the bat that somehow
was
went
great,
332. Oh, I don't know.
Houston
about
is center. They had a flagpole
They had
in the field of play,
which was amazing.
They had a mound back there just because. Why wouldn't you?
The only thing I hate about Houston is the shot to left center. I never know if it's a home run or not.
Yeah,
like I don't know
off the facing.
how high it has to go.
Look at the yellow line.
I know there's a line, but then can you actually track the ball, because it's always going to bounce back? You're not hitting it over the railroad there.
Sure. Well, Pujols. Unless it's Albert Pujols.
Soler hit
over
one.
the
Yeah.
right-
I think he hit
train
one to
tracks.
San Antonio. Is that where it ended
It's
up
probably
landing in that
still-
one?
it's probably still going. I don't
those
think it's
Crawford
landed.
boxes. I mean, Chris Burke made his career on that hit in like the 17th inning for the Astros and winning that playoff game and depositing it there. Left center. I just never know where if it's going to be a home run or not, because I can't see the fans standing up either. Because during the COVID era, when there weren't really fans there, you couldn't see where is that going to be. You can watch, you can track the outfielders, but when you've got a huge wall like that, you can't track the fans, even when there was COVID, obviously. But you can't even do it in Houston anyway. But that's besides the point. It was just popped into my head that Yankees Twitter. This is a walk-off in 6 stadiums. For Oswaldo Cabrera, too. Like, it's not like you're talking about, like, Judge or how excited people are about Volpe this year. Like, it's Oswaldo Cabrera who's filling in for LeMahieu. So cool, Anyway.
One thing I wanted to bring up was John Schreiber, the Royals reliever who was traded for David Sandlin. And I remember when this trade went down in Twitter, a lot of these analytical Royals fans, I consider myself an analytical guy, but I was not upset by this trade. I was pretty thrilled by it. A lot of folks were saying, how could you give up David Sandlin for John Schreiber? And I'm sitting here going, you want Sandlin to turn into John Schreiber. And, of course, John Schreiber this year, 14 innings, .63 ERA, been one of the best relievers in all of baseball. You look at David Sandlin, who's rocking a 6.75 ERA in high A ball. I love this move for the Royals. This was a indication that they were ready to compete now and saying, we don't care about this 22-year-old who's in high A.
Right.
We don't care what he might be. We don't care about the shiny toy. Give me the actual product that can get it done now. And you're seeing John Schreiber. He's been just phenomenal all season long. His sweeper is just filthy. I have no idea how anyone hits that thing.
I don't think I could hit it. I'll be honest with you.
Not with the arm angle, right? Not with the arm angle that he's tossing at hitters right now. And, that was something in the offseason the Royals really needed. They needed somebody in the bullpen, not just that they could get for this year, but had years of control. And John Schreiber was damn good for Boston 2 years ago, and they kind of had a step back the year before, but still would have been one of the better bullpen arms for the Royals last year. But I always bring up a quote that, surprisingly, Rex Hudler had when they acquired Andrew Benintendi for Khalil Lee in that 3-team trade with the Mets and Boston. He said, you'll always trade a boy for a man. And the Royals could have gotten fleeced on a deal like this. David Sandlin turns into a top pitching prospect. But the reality is with prospects, you don't know. You know what John Schreiber's going to give you. And fortunately for this bullpen, he's given them more than they could have expected early on. He has been the fireman for this bullpen. He can go multiple innings. He's usually going 1, 2, 3 every single time. He throws strikes, and guys just can't square him up. And for David Sandlin, early struggles. It just got to high A last year. He really dominated in low A for Columbia for the Royals in their system. But yeah, you don't know with David Sandlin. And David Sandlin was also an 11th round pick, so they traded him because they feel like they can get another David Sandlin through the draft or through one of their developmental processes.
Which just completely correct. I'm looking up some of the underlying numbers for Schreiber, and it's hilarious. Dudes are slugging .077 against his sweeper. That's his most thrown pitch. Not batting average. Well, it actually is batting average too. Batting average and slugging is .077. His sinker, batting average .067. Slugging, .133. So his two most common pitches, his sinker slider, no one is touching.
Well, and the thing about, relievers and why I was, cool with the trade and had a discussion. I think Josh was here at that time. I'm not sure. It's all blending together with the co-hosts that come in. And
I even
and
dressed
leave
like
and
him
everything.
today in
I
honor
appreciate that.
of
Thank you
Briscoe.
very much. And the hair and all of that stuff. So Jack dressed like Corey. So we've got everything. So we got we got the band back together here. But like we talked about at the time, and I'm like, exactly what you're talking. Like you hope this guy turns into what John Schreiber is. And I know last year wasn't great, but we're talking about bullpen arms, and there's volatility from year to year with guys that are in the bullpen. Who's been one of, if not the best relievers in baseball so far this year, is Reed Garrett for the Mets. I mean, outside of the A's closer,
Bobby Mason Miller.
Mason Miller, yes, thank you. I was going to say Matt Miller because I've got it on my sheet here that we're going to talk about. Matt Miller's top one. Mason Miller's been amazing, but like Reed Garrett's got like 30 strikeouts in 15 innings and like a 0 ERA for the Mets. And he's leading baseball in wins. He's 5-0, which is crazy as a reliever. But last year he had a 6 ERA. And the year before that he had a 10 ERA. And he's 31 years old. It's not like, he was 23, then 24, and now he's 25 years old. Like, he's 31 years old, and he's, one of the best relievers in baseball. He may fall flat on his face starting soon, but it's just that volatility of the bullpen. So even if you're like, hey, this guy's going to come up from the minors and turn into a good reliever, maybe that year, but then what happens the next year? Like, you don't really know unless there's been that established sort of closer. Like, there aren't many guys out of the bullpen that you go year after year, this is a level of expectation that this guy is going to bring you. It's typically the guys who are in the back end. If you're pitching the 6th or 7th or even the 8th oftentimes, you're more than likely going to have an up and down career, having a good season, having a bad season. And if you got a Schreiber that comes in there that's got the experience, that's been around, and it can help solidify that bullpen a little bit because you're essentially changing out everybody except for Hernandez. Like, yeah, you need guys in there that have some professional experience, and they've been through the good, they've been through the bad. At least you have an idea of what you can coach to. We'll take a time out. We'll come back. I want to talk some Chiefs on the other side. We'll talk some draft picks. We'll get into also the explosive passing plays for the Chiefs. We'll look at just how different last year was to the other years, or maybe it wasn't. I don't want to give anything away. Just the difference of last year and the previous years for Patrick Mahomes, what that can mean for Hollywood Brown, what it can mean with Xavier Worthy. We'll do that coming up next year on Sports Radio 810 WHB. RGR Football, NFL33.com. We'll talk with him about the Chiefs, about the draft, what he thinks about the 7 selections that they brought in, and also kind of want to get his thoughts on position availability, that how many positions will be in competition coming up in training camp, because now that we know that Donovan Smith is not going to be brought in to the Chiefs, and McCole Hardman not going to be brought back unless they trade for him. Maybe he'd have to also sign with the team at some point for them to trade for him. Maybe they just simply get him as a free agent. I don't know. But
I was like, that's news to me here, Jason.
Yes, but so we'll talk with him about some of those things. Mick Schaefer will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. KSHB 41 Sports Director. I thought this was interesting. We talked about in Fact or Fiction yesterday, Sterling. You asked, what was it the best pick? Fact or Fiction was Jaden Hicks?
Oh, I
or was
it
it the?
I think best value,
best value, steal, whatever it might be, was Jaden Hicks.
I deleted it. Sorry, that's on me.
You went yes.
It was fact. That was fact.
You went
that
yes.
Was fact.
Yeah, you didn't go no, but you went fact. I went fiction because I thought it was Kingsley Suamataia. So I want to look at what Matt Miller has in his top 100. So he came up with his top 100 best draft picks. Now, it's not just these are the most talented people because, those were ranked before the draft. So, I mean, so not like it's that would be what you would call his big board, right? So this is, fit, scheme, value, position value, things like that. Like, for instance, the number 1 and number 2 are the same team. And it's the Bears. Number 1 is Rome Odunze. Number 2 is Caleb Williams.
Sure.
So it's like, okay, they got a phenomenal receiver at number 9, and he had Rome Odunze as his number 3 overall player. They got Caleb Williams at number 1. It was his number 1 overall player. Hey, need, positional value, scheme, fit, all of that stuff. Okay, Marvin Harrison Jr. was the 3rd. Well, he's the 2nd. He's a junior, but he was the 3rd, ranking of the top 100.
Sure.
And again, it's just like, all of the things in company. It doesn't have to be, well, I had this guy as value 50 and they took him 220th. So this guy's the number 1. How many Chiefs out of the 7? Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't.
I've not seen it.
I like to do these fun quizzes just to see what the top of your head is. How many Chiefs do you think show up in the top 100? So there are 257 players drafted. He ranks 1 through 100. Chiefs had 7 selections. How many show up in his top 100?
I'll go 4.
4 of them?
I'll go 4.
Jack?
I'm going to say 5.
5? Dylan?
Give me all 7.
All 7. Wow, look at you. All 7 over there, Prince. It is 5 of them. Wow. 5 of them show up in the top 100. Jack actually just won $50. You guys didn't know $50 was on the line, but it was on the line. Would you have guessed 5 if you knew $50 was on the line?
I would have cheated.
I know.
Yes,
Yeah,
I would have cheated. I would have.
If I knew there was money, I absolutely would have cheated. Now let's talk about this one.
Which 5?
Yeah, the highest rated one. He's got one of the picks at number 4. So I gave you the top 3. Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. The Chiefs come in 4th with a selection.
So this is based also on positional value, I'd assume.
Positional
too.
value,
Yeah.
fit, need.
So probably Kingsley Suamataia would be 4th.
I'm going to have to say that, too.
I'm hoping it's that.
Xavier Worthy.
Wow.
Xavier Worthy, the 4th best draft pick that Matt Miller had in his top 100. Here's what he writes. The NFL seriously let the fastest person ever timed at the Combine go to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. After 2 years of desperately trying to add a speedy target to replace Tyreek Hill, Brett Veach moved up 4 spots in the first round to get his guy. Worthy is a dangerous deep threat, but also has a diverse set of route skills and can change the game as a punt returner. I was surprised that, Worthy shows up at number 4.
Yeah.
But again, that's why he said, I'm taking it all into account. Where I have the player, Worthy was his number 25 overall player. The Chiefs got him at 28. Not crazy difference, right? Not like this guy was number 50 and you got him at number 120, right? But I had him at number 25. Chiefs traded up, got him at number 28. But here's how it works. Here's how he works. What he's going to do for this offense. What he does for Patrick Mahomes. The connection that's there. How good the player is. All of those things. I was surprised. I would have gone Kingsley as you guys did as well. With fit and potential, all of that stuff. He went Xavier Worthy number 4. And that certainly got me a little more excited of what Matt Miller thinks of Xavier Worthy. And I think it's somebody else, pointing out and going, he's not just a fast guy. And I think that will continue to have to be hammered home. Like, you're downgrading the guy because he ran fast. It's like you downgrade LeBron because he made the finals instead of losing in the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference finals. Had he won the Western Conference finals last year against the Nuggets and then lost in the finals, that would have been viewed as worse than just simply losing to the Nuggets in the Western Conference finals. Like, Xavier Worthy was so fast that it's viewed as a negative because now he's just one of the fast guys in the NFL.
To your point, there was a great tweet that said, a lot of people would think Xavier Worthy was a lot better receiver if he would have ran a 10th slower 40 at the Combine.
Right. I mean, just 4.31. It's like, yeah, but route skills, his ball tracking ability, he had some concentration issues in drops, which have to be fixed. But I would rather some concentration issues and trying to turn up field too quick as a drop than he just doesn't have the best. Darius Hayward-Bay. Really fast, but his hands are questionable. Are they? Is it a concentration thing? It's a hands thing. Okay. Well, that seems like it is a big impediment to play wide receiver. All right.
Worthy and Mahomes is what Al Davis thought Jamarcus Russell and Darius Hayward-Bay was going to be.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. That is so good. That is absolutely right. Speed to burn and throw it 70 yards on one knee. You know, Jamarcus Russell, he could throw it over the mountains, right? But, you know, he throws it to the other team often, you know, and he didn't actually read the playbook. And never watched those DVDs, you know? You've heard that story, right?
Oh, yeah, it's
okay,
great.
everybody's heard that story with the Kevin Harlan telling the story. It's fantastic. So Matt Miller continues. Number 5, Jaden Daniels. Number 6, Zach Frazier, center for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, that's fit and everything. It's like I saw somebody write up about Zach Frazier that it was like there are a few times where I watch a player and I immediately think this is the team he's going to play for, and it turns out to be that. But that was Zach Frazier and the Steelers. It's one of those where it was just made too much sense, and then they drafted him. So not a surprise that he shows up at number 6. A.D. Mitchell for the Colts. I think that's a lot about, you know, where they got him at pick 52, as opposed to him being viewed by Matt Miller as the number 18 overall player on his big board. This is just one person's opinion. Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
You know, the Philadelphia Eagles at pick 40.
I love that pick, man. The Eagles had Is this always interesting because it feels like Howie Roseman gets applauded just after every single move and draft.
Yeah.
But I know it hasn't always translated in the regular season, or at least into the postseason deep runs. But once again, I'm left going, wow, the Eagles left with 2 phenomenal players yet again.
Yeah.
It's insane.
He goes in Dallas Turner, edge from Minnesota, was the 17th overall pick. Terry and Arnold, we talked about that with the Lions, slid all the way to number 24. Malik Neighbors to the Giants at pick number 6. Quinion Mitchell, cornerback to the Eagles, as you were talking about, slides to number 22. Byron Murphy, defensive tackle to the Seahawks, pick number 16. Joe Alt, Chargers, pick number 5. Ennis Rakestraw, pick number 61 by the Detroit Lions. Peyton Wilson, linebacker, Steelers. Audric Estime, the running back from Notre Dame to Denver. And then a Chiefs player at number 18. So I ask again, who's number 18?
I feel like you're doing this voice that is going to trick us. I feel like he's being a little trickster.
I think this is going to be Jaden Hicks.
Either Hicks or Kingsley.
Hicks or Kingsley?
Are you tricking us and it's going to be like,
I don't know,
Jared Wiley or Kamal Hayden?
I have no idea.
I'll go Kingsley.
Okay. You did mention one of them. It was Jared Wiley.
Damn. I knew
Jared
it. I
Wiley
knew you were
was
being
the-
a little trickster.
I was as surprised as you guys. If I would have asked the same question to me before, I would have said number 4, Kingsley Suamataia. Number 18, okay, maybe it's Xavier Worthy. But then I find out Xavier Worthy was number 4. I would have absolutely gone Kingsley, number 18, for Matt Miller's top 100. He writes here about Jared Wiley, pick number 131, number 83 on his big board, so 50 spots lower than where he thought. It's, 2 full rounds, essentially. He says, in the 2013 draft, Chiefs selected a quarterback turned tight end with great traits named Travis Kelce. In the 2024 draft, they drafted a quarterback turned tight end with great traits in Wiley. No, I'm not saying he'll be the next Kelce, but Veach and Coach Reed know former quarterbacks make great tight ends because they understand the entire offense and are great at finding space on the fly. 6'6" size and potential are intriguing enough to make this one of the more fun developmental picks in the entire class. Number 18 for Jared Wiley. It would have taken a while before I got to Wiley. Like, honestly, I would have gone Kingsley, then probably Hicks, then probably Hayden, then maybe Worth. Like, I don't know how far it would have gotten before I got to Jared Wiley because of a tight end that it's like, oh, it seems like there's a split view on Jared Wiley of, well, he's a big target. He can box some guys out in the end zone, but he's more of a blocker. Then there's the, hey, this guy was a quarterback turned tight end. He's got the traits. Developmental guy. He'll be learning behind Travis Kelce. 18th best draft pick in the entire draft is where Matt Miller put Jared Wiley. I would have, I don't know. I don't know how far down it would have been for me, but it certainly wouldn't have been the second highest for the Chiefs.
And what has being a great blocking tight end really achieved more than Travis? Because Travis has been a bad blocker, according to everyone, his entire career, and everyone considers him the greatest tight end of all time.
Right. It's mainly the Gronk stands that think Travis Kelce can't block.
And
the Kittle stands.
Their hero
And
is
the Kittle-
gone.
and the
Their
Kittle
hero
stand,
has been
yes.
gone for a while. So.
Yeah, the Kittle stand. By the way, the Chiefs tweet the other day of we've signed the greatest tight end of all time to the contract.
Strong.
And just the Boston people's replies of Gronk isn't playing anymore. I don't see. Oh, Gronk's on the Chiefs. Just filled with all these. Oh, it just irked him so much.
Just wait till our quarterback starts to get a little bit closer to theirs. It'll get even worse.
My goodness, it irked him so bad.
Is part of that with Tony G?
I was going to say, I feel like some of the knock has been he's not even the best tight end in Chiefs history, but I do wonder this.
But I disagree with that. He is the best tight end in Chiefs history.
I disagree with it as well, but I wonder if Tony Gonzalez made it so easy for Chiefs fans to overlook him because he considered himself a Falcon.
Well, yeah, I mean,
like if he didn't consider himself a Falcon, how many more people do you think in Chiefs Kingdom would have said,
Good point.
I still think it's Tony G
think
because of
a
the
good
overall
amount.
numbers and because of the quarterbacks he played with?
I think a good amount.
I absolutely love Tony Gonzalez. So what I say next is not to take a shot at Tony Gonzalez, the player. I just think it's ironic what I'm going to say next.
Okay, Alanis Morissette.
That's right. Travis Kelce is doing what Tony Gonzalez felt was impossible to do in Kansas City. And that is be a worldwide superstar that's
Bruce Weber.
that's recognizable across the country by simply looking at the face and knowing that's Travis Kelce because you're a tight end in Kansas City. Travis Kelce is doing what Tony Gonzalez said, I can't do that in Kansas City. I can't do that here. Like, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm famous and everything, but I got all these other things I want to do in my life outside of football, like acting and doing some different things. And Travis Kelce's going, oh, I'm doing it in Kansas City. I'm hosting Saturday Night Live. I'm doing some other TV shows. I'm dating Taylor Swift. I've got 3 Super Bowls. Turns out it can be done in Kansas City. Now, that is not a knock on Tony Gonzalez, the player. I find it ironic. That's all. Okay?
It's like Bruce Weber. That's what it is.
Exactly.
You can't get it done at K-State in Manhattan. No, you
Right.
can't get it done. That was Tony G.
Or it's like, Deion Sanders and the Athletic article that came out. It's like, if you're taking over a team that was 1-11, like the stands for Deion Sanders, the beat writers that still want access that are afraid to say anything bad about Deion because he's got, quote, receipts. But it's like, well, this is what happens in an NFL or a college football program when you lose that many games. You're just churning. You're telling guys to leave. Like, yeah, one, you're not calling them old furniture. You're not telling them that, you guys are off-brand luggage and I'm bringing Louis with me, right? And you don't have to turn over the whole roster to be successful. Lance Leipold right down the street took over a team that didn't have all that many scholarship players anyway, and a couple of years later, they're winning 8 and 9 games, and he wasn't running kids off and calling them old furniture and treating them like crap. Turns out you can actually run a program that's been bad, develop the players, build a team and a culture, and win games without being a total AH. I guess it is possible. That's besides the point. Like I said, Kelsey's better than Tony Gonzalez.
We got there somehow.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Perfect wraparound.
Yes, all right. We branched off. We went the scenic route.
We did
to get to
but we
Kelsey.
ended up
A lot of
right
construction.
back at the starting point.
A lot of construction on that one.
There was a slower path to get there. We did have to slow down and take a little detour or two, but we got there. That was probably the most surprising thing was Jared Wiley was number 18.
And I get some of the excitement, the 8 touchdowns, right? The big body threat, maybe this kid, Jody Fortson, but if Fortson could ever stay healthy. And I understand that. My pushback with tight ends in general is, and I know this is just kind of silly, any other position, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of what they can translate and be in the NFL. Tight end, I have yet to ever find a correlation where I'm like, no, he did that in college. I see how this is going to translate to the NFL because you see it all the time with top tight ends, and you're like, oh, they're going to be studs. We're still waiting for Kyle Pitts, who was the unicorn. Yeah. He had one good year, and I get the situation and the Falcons. I get all that stuff.
Atlanta, take my money. Trade for Kyle Pitts. Here, you can have it.
It took David Njoku 4 years. Like, O.J. Howard was supposed to be the next guy, and he played with some decent quarterbacks. Yeah. Like, I always just get befuddled, and this is on me. I think the NFL was in the same spot because I don't think the NFL understands either where to correctly identify tight ends.
Yeah, because the best ones we've seen have been third-round picks. Or what was Kittle? Kittle a third-rounder? Gronk was a third or fourth-rounder, fifth-rounder. Obviously, Kelsey was a third-rounder, but he could have been a second-rounder. He was the first pick of the third-rounder.
Fifth round was George Kittle.
And he was pick number 63 was
Sounds right.
Kelsey. Because There was a couple of picks that were lost or whatever because he was a third-round pick that was like pick number 63. It would have been a second-rounder, but still.
Mark Andrews was third. George Kittle was fifth. I mean, and again,
Gronk was like a third-rounder because Gronk was before Hernandez, right? They took Gronk first and then Hernandez in that same draft. So I think he was like a third-rounder or whatever. Kelsey a third-rounder. But we're seeing more and more first-round tight ends that come into the league, and it's like, nice players.
Well, Dalton Kincaid. T.J. Hawkinson, but not for the Lions, for the Vikings.
Laporta was a second-rounder, right?
Sam Laporta has been great.
And he had, 12 touchdowns last year?
I
he
think
was really
Michael
good.
Michael
Mayer, yeah.
Second, or was he first?
I think he was first.
He was second because he was Raiders.
Yeah, he wasn't a...
And he was not their first-round selection.
No, he wasn't a first-rounder because I'm trying to think back at the first-round picks and everything. Hawkinson and, guys like that have been first-rounders. But
and honestly, I'd
35.
say Hawkinson wasn't a great pick compared to Sam Laporta.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm curious how he's the 18th best fit when, let's all be honest, we don't even know if he's going to be on the active roster. Right? Is he moving out Noah Gray? Probably not.
Well, I think the drafting of Wiley tells me they're going 4 tight ends. That they're going because they kept 7 receivers and 3 tight ends last year. They're not going to keep 7 receivers this year.
No.
So now it's going to be 6 receivers, 4 tight ends. I think they would have kept 4 tight ends if Fortson was healthy. They didn't keep 4 tight ends because Bushman didn't make the squad over a Justin Ross. I think that's where it sort of came down to. They don't need 7 receivers this year if your top 3/4 are going to be better than what they were a year ago. And if you're going to look at more of the receiving tight ends, which we know Andy Reid loves, you got Irv Smith. If there's somebody that doesn't make the squad, I would say it's Irv Smith.
Yeah, I was about to ask you if you think what his chances are of making it, and maybe if they have 53, he's the odd man out at least as the season goes on.
Yeah, if they only have 3,
not non-active.
If they only have 3 tight ends make the squad, and it's health is not an issue, then I think Irv Smith is out.
Yeah, his guaranteed contract, I believe, is only $384,000, not million. Again, that'd have been a Broncos move.
He said 380. He said guaranteed $384 million.
And Broncos would have said, you know what?
Veach, it's a fireable offense to pay him $384 million.
You could look at it in this way too. Of okay, for the 6 wide receiver argument. What if Rashee Rice is suspended the first? Let's just throw a number on it. 4 games.
Good
okay,
point.
so you don't need to worry about it.
That's right.
Then you get 4 games in. Jared Wiley's been on the roster. Then at that point, Rice comes back. You could always at that point cut ties with Irv Smith, and instead of cutting ties with them in training camp, you could carry 4 because Rice isn't out there.
It's a great point because they did that with Omenihu last year.
Exactly.
So they didn't keep Omenihu on the active roster to start because he was suspended. It's a really good point. So that 6 wide receivers, maybe 5 wide receivers, or maybe 6 wide receivers with a guy that ultimately is just a placeholder. That somebody makes the opening day roster with the Chiefs on that Thursday night game as a receiver, and they're keeping 6. But when Rashee Rice comes back, one of those guys is gone, right? Or maybe it is an Irv Smith. Maybe they keep 7 and then Irv Smith is gone. They see what they have.
Because they trust this receiver room more than last year's receiver room. They had to have more volume in that room, just in more lottery tickets.
Didn't know who was going to shake out.
Yeah.
I mean, they kept Justin Ross because it was like, oh, this guy's going to be awesome. It was like a folk hero almost. You can't cut Justin Ross for Matt Bushman. No way. Well, I guess it was, rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic for either of them, right? Neither one of them mattered last year.
I can't believe this. I actually got a few people asking me, what do we think Justin Ross is going to do this year now that he's had another year in the system? And I was just perplexed.
What do you think of Justin Ross? I don't.
If you're still in the Justin Ross hype train, I'm sorry. Congratulations, good for you. I hope the best for you.
It was funny because so many people talked about last summer about Justin Ross, and I joked that on Friday of the American Century Championship, I was catching a flight later on that day, so I walked around and followed Kelsey and Mahomes through their round for a little bit, and just the crowd reaction and everything, and I'm catching up with them on like hole number 6, right? So when I get off the air, they're at like hole number 6. So I'm walking up, and Travis Kelsey is standing next to the tee box at the 6th hole, and I swear the first thing I hear from a fan is, Kelsey, what's Ross looking like? I was like, oh my God. I was like, I can't wait to go tell everybody. I can't wait to get back home and tell everybody. It's the first thing I heard was, Kelsey, what's Justin Ross looking like? And of course, Kelsey was like, looking good. He's looking good. Like, what else is he going to say, right? He looks like a guy who may or may not make the roster. I don't know.
He's breaking out of his routes too early. It's just the whole thing. We're working on it.
He's not dropping his hips when he's on these dig routes.
Who was the bigger fairy tale?
Jody Fortson or Justin Ross?
Oh man.
In terms
Josh
of
Gordon. It was Josh Gordon.
Oh.
No, I don't think people ever
I don't
got.
know.
I think people were making fun of the Chiefs more of Josh Gordon. Certainly we were on the air of like,
I
oh,
was,
he's so close.
yes.
Oh, he's so close. We kept
right
hearing that
there.
from Andy Reid. He's so Josh Gordon's so close. Like you're starting him every game. Like he's not that close because
Yeah,
he's not
he's
doing
not.
it. I think Fortson because Fortson teased people from time to time.
He
Like
had a
you
couple of
saw,
games, yeah.
Like Justin Ross had a back shoulder throw or that down the sideline throw.
Minnesota game.
Yeah, that was like, ooh, interesting. And that
I
was it.
pointed the ball.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Where Jody Fortson over a number of years was like, see, this is what he could be if he just stayed healthy. I think it was more Fortson.
Tony Moyaki. It was Tony Moyaki.
You have
No
a
doubt.
one-handed catch like that in the end zone, though. I think
That's all that
anybody,
matters.
and you wear, what was it, 81?
Mm-hmm.
His number. Everybody thought he could be Tony G 2.0.
What about Wiley wearing number 12?
Kind of a weird fit for somebody who's 6'6",
6'6",
265.
Scaring me because it's almost like the Sky Moore picking 24 as a wide receiver. That's just
My theory is that he picks number 12 because he doesn't want people to view him as a blocking tight end. I think he picked number 12 because he wants people
Can't
to say
miss him.
Garrett Dieter was his favorite player.
Yes.
He loved Garrett Dieter.
Or
so much.
Hardman.
Hardman, Super Bowl
He doesn't
hero.
even know.
Hard.
He doesn't even know Hardman. Garrett Dieter all the way.
You're right. It's Gary Dieter. Who's that guy sitting next to Trey Smith at that SmackDown or whatever? He wore number 12? I'll take that. I'll take number 12. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next. Miller's top 100, because we talked about Xavier Worthy. We talked a lot there about Jared Wiley, because that, was a surprise that Jared Wiley showed up at number 18 as the second highest. 3 other guys that were in the top 100 of draft picks for the Chiefs that Matt Miller ranked 1 through 100. Number 61 was the next highest. So we had number 4, number 18, and then number 61.
One of these has to be Kingsley, right?
You would think. You would think one of them has to be
Probably
Kingsley. But it doesn't have to be Kingsley.
Okay,
You would think.
I'll go Jaden Hicks.
Jaden Hicks for you? See, I would have gone Jaden Hicks as well, because we don't have much time. It was Kamal Hayden at number 61. And his point was, day 3, cornerback for the Chiefs. Yeah, they'll figure out a way to turn this guy into a really good player.
An injured 6th-rounder from Tennessee? Oh, yeah.
They'll figure out a way to get this guy. And he had Hayden ranked higher than that. So it was like, look, there's a value here, too. He shouldn't have been there at that spot. Pick number 74, his 74th best selection of the entire draft, ended up being Hicks. 85 was Kingsley Suamataia. I thought that was really surprising. Out of Jared Wiley being that high, to me, Kingsley, because we talked about what the best value pick, and I chose Kingsley, because they were thinking about maybe they would draft him in the first round or trade back and draft him, and they got him at number 63 because they traded up with the 49ers. So it was, I looked at this one and talked, because it wasn't just, Jaden Hicks and Kingsley Suamataia, and you got this value there that almost everybody has talked about. To sort of change up the conversation a little bit, in that, no, Xavier Worthy was the 4th best draft pick, according to Matt Miller, because of fit, scheme, positional value, etc. That this guy is, viewed as one of the perfect matches for the NFL. But it gets me a little more excited about Jared Wiley. I'll certainly say that. We'll talk with Daniel Harms next.
all-natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. Mick Schaefer joins us an hour from now, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Let's talk some NFL football, some Chiefs football. Daniel Harms, RGR Football, NFL33.com, joining us here to talk about the Chiefs, the draft, the NFL, here on Sports Radio 810 on a Tuesday. Daniel, welcome into the show. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I've got my daughter at a park right now, so if you hear some wind, some planes taking off, that's just me.
Awesome, man. That is great. So you get to talk some football while watching your daughter play at the park. How much better than that does it get, Daniel?
Not much better. It is pretty much living the dream.
Yes, absolutely. So you've had a few days to sort of digest the draft and look at the Chiefs and everything. 7 picks for the Chiefs. The value was there in a number of different spots. How do you feel for this team coming out of the draft and adding these players?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I'm pretty happy with how value-wise it went for him. I know that there's going to be some talk about trading up to get Xavier Worthy. You know, looking back on it, the trade really wasn't all that expensive. I like what they did offensively in terms of throwing some bodies to Patrick Mahomes and trying to get some help with Xavier Worthy being a legitimate 3-level threat player who can run routes. He's not just a track guy. And one of the guys I was really high on at left tackle as a starter, not just in terms of coming in and being a developmental guy. I think getting in the hands of Andy Heck, this still moldable young player in Kingsley Suamataia, is going to be a really important part because we've seen over the last couple of years with the ability to just protect Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. It makes everything so much easier. He's had to run around and had to worry about pressures coming from the left side for a large portion of the last 2 years. So hopefully that will get much better from this point on. I do think he's going to challenge to actually just start week 1. But overall, there's a lot of value here, especially on day 3. They got a lot of guys that I was really high on, and they drafted 4 guys that I had day 2 certified top 50, 60 grades on. So I'm pretty happy.
Absolutely. Daniel Harms is our guest. I wanted to talk to you about Kingsley because I know that we talked about him last time we had you on before the draft, and you and I both really liked what Suamataia could bring to the table for this Chiefs team. The Chiefs liked Wanya Morris. They have seen him in action. We've seen Wanya Morris play a number of games. We know the deficiencies. We know some of the strengths. How much of a chance do you give Kingsley to starting week number 1, or is Wanya Morris the incumbent? It's going to be tough for Kingsley to overtake him being a rookie, and sort of it'll be these 2 guys, but over the next year or so we'll find out who can solidify themselves as the tackle of the future. How much of a chance do you give Kingsley starting right out of the gates at left tackle?
I'd give him about a 60% chance. I think he not only was a better prospect than Wanya, he doesn't have to switch positions. He played right tackle 2 years ago, left tackle last year at BYU. And not only did Wanya have to not play right tackle his last year at Oklahoma and then left tackle last year, he was the worst prospect, to be honest with you. In my opinion, he wasn't a guy that can come in and really compete for a starting job. He had to by default when Donovan Smith got hurt. Not that Donovan Smith played fantastic in pass protection last year, but we could see the deficiencies in terms of the pass protection for both guys. The run blocking for Wanya was really good. He was a plus adding to the run game there. And as much as I love that, I'm more than willing to sacrifice a little bit of run blocking prowess to upgrade yourselves in pass protection. And I think Kingsley comes in as certifiably better than both Wanya Morris and Donovan Smith was last year. So I like the upside, not just to start this year, but, again, getting him in Andy Heck's hands is like a dream situation for him.
Yeah, visiting with Daniel Harms, and, Brett Veach said they felt very lucky and fortunate that he was there at pick number 63 for them to trade up 1 spot, that they were thinking about it. One of the handful of guys they were looking at in the first round, or if they traded back, he might have been a guy that they were going to select. But they end up trading up and getting Xavier Worthy. It's funny looking back now, we know the Chiefs love speed. He ran the 4.21, and immediately after running the 4.21, so many mock drafts came out and had Xavier Worthy going 32 to the Chiefs. Xavier Worthy 32 to the Chiefs. And I'm like, it seems too obvious right now. Let's do a little more digging into it to see what that fit would be. the more and more I looked at it, the more and more I liked Xavier Worthy because I think he got, in an odd way, Daniel, he gets downgraded because he ran so fast. So it's like, this guy, it's so weird that that's the case, right? If he ran a 4.31, would people be giving him more credit for his route running skills and his ability as a wide receiver than running a 4.21 and sort of getting dismissed on the other things he brings to the table?
I don't think you're wrong in that, especially because we've seen the guys who have broken the record before outside of, Chris Johnson, John Ross, who was in camp like 2 years ago. He was in camp in Kansas City, and people are like, this guy is nothing. He can't actually run routes. He can't break out of his routes. He can't accelerate. So he doesn't understand manipulation. Like, if you just turn on, and the big difference here is that Xavier Worthy may be the only one of these quote-unquote speed guys that dominated as a freshman at Texas. This wasn't a guy who just came on and was like, okay, you're going to be a gadget player. We're going to throw you the ball down the field, and we'll see what happens. No, he was a much better and more polished receiver. You don't really come on as a freshman and dominate college football at Texas University. It doesn't happen very often. So not only was he getting downgraded for his size and then the speed, but people kind of ignored the production he's had in his entire career, playing through a broken wrist or something like that in his second year. Yeah, he had some drops, but a lot of it were attributed to the fact that he played through a broken wrist with 113 targets. And it's not ever been a actual catch technique, in my opinion. He attacks the ball in the air. So it's more concentration. So I know that's not what you want to hear, Chiefs fans, especially after watching last year with all the drops that happened last year, seemingly just bouncing off everyone's hands that are actually attacking it. But the routes and the ability, I think the most underrated part of his game is that he understands how to move defensive backs out of the way. He to get to his spot, if he wants to run an out route against the guy who's got outside leverage, he can move him with intention, using his shoulders and his eyes to, again, with your speed. You can move guys with speed and intention, and I think he does that among the best, especially the guys at the top that are fast in the entire draft. So, yeah, it was a real easy, that's speed. We're going to put it with Andy Reid, much like they did with they drafted McCole Hardman a few years ago. Very different situations here. So we get a lot of one-for-one. Now this guy's just going to be McCole Hardman. He's a much better route runner and space understander than McCole, frankly, ever has been in his career.
And tracking the football, I think people got a pretty good idea of what it means to not have an ability to track the football versus somebody who is really good at like that. They show the clip of the catch against Alabama where he was running the deep over, and then he's running that fast. And he's got to stop, not necessarily stop, but he's changing direction. Then he's tracking it, and he ends up tracking it over his right shoulder when he started with his left, like a Willie Mays type catch, right? Like that is not easy to do running as fast as he does. And you've got your head that might be bouncing around. Like we saw at times last year that, just simply doing a go and tracking it was difficult. Like I think that is underrated. And I know scouts don't underrate it, but maybe just general fans that maybe look at his 4.21. I think what Xavier Worthy also has that might be dismissed or not given as much serious thought to is the pace and tempo in which he runs his routes. Like, it's not just, I'm going to run as fast as I can because I'm faster than you. Like, you mentioned setting up the defenders, and I think that's all sort of part of it. The pace, the tempo, the breaks out of the routes. Like, it's about being a wide receiver, and you've got the speed, so use it to your advantage. And I think he's shown that he's got a pretty decent knack of seeing how his speed can be used to his advantage. And he also has that ability to, I'm just going to blow by you as well. So there's more nuance to his game than just the generic, look at all these fast guys and they sucked in the NFL.
Absolutely. And you talk about tracking. I think he might be one or two in terms of best ball tracking in the entire class, which is a lot of praise for guys who like Brian Thomas and Roma Dunze and Marvin Harrison Jr., who are just like elite ball trackers. That play you're talking about, that ball hung up in the air for like 10 seconds. Yeah. So he's sitting there with his head cranked back over his shoulder for like 10 seconds while this ball just kind of floats and flutters in the air, and then he comes down with it. So absolutely, you have to be able to run with tempo, play with speed. You can be really, really fast, but if you're always just a speed release off the line, everyone knows what's coming, and they don't have to worry about it. But if you can play with that and you can slowly bait them in, maybe get one of these DBs flat-footed, which he's very good at doing as well, because you have to guess. If it's coming speed at you, you have to start really getting back. If you start slow, you have to wait because he can explode at any time. So all those really, really great points, and one of the reasons why he became so underrated.
Daniel Harms is our guest, RGR Football, NFL33.com. Do you have a favorite selection from this draft for the Chiefs out of the 7?
It's actually going to be, I did my film room on him today. It's dropping later on rgrfootball.com. And Jaden Hicks. I had Jaden Hicks as a top 50 player, my safety 2 in this class. And I didn't think he was going to actually be able to get down there. We all, actually, not just myself, but Dane Brugler had him, I think, as his top safety. A lot of people had him as a top 50 player. And when you think about all the different ways that Steve Spagnuolo likes to use these DBs, it's a match made in heaven. He's almost 6'2", nearly 32-inch arms as a safety. Like, this guy is fast. He's physical. And he can play deep safety a little bit. They did have him rotate from two high safety to a single high at times at Washington State, but it was far more of a box usage, coming downhill, being physical in the run game. And then I think he's going to be able to take away tight ends in the NFL. Like, I think that's his next step, is that he can obviously play with the size, the speed, the athleticism of these tight ends, and then he can just has a knack for the football, really, really good ball skills, and with the ability to use his length to keep up with these tight ends. I think that would be hugely important for the Chiefs, who honestly have not been very good against tight ends in recent memory. Even covering running backs out of the backfield, I think he can be useful with his change of direction skills. So he's.
Well, I was going to, sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, you mentioned that, like, they lose Willie Gay, and I feel like one of the things they wanted from Willie Gay for 4 years was to be that guy. And at times he was that guy, and at times he wasn't. Like, he was so fast sideline to sideline. Can Jaden Hicks be a guy that when they go nickel, if Bolton's not on the field, which typically he's going to be on the field almost 100% of the snaps, but even if they go dime, if Tranquil is out of the game or is injured or something like that, can Hicks fill in that role and be a guy that can cover and play almost a safety that's playing linebacker in coverage?
Absolutely reading my mind there, Jason. That's exactly what he can do. He can be a plus version of what Dan Sorensen was in Kansas City. For everything that we love to forget about Dan Sorensen, all the bad things, earlier in his career, he was used as that nickel, like light nickel backer, where he comes downhill and he plays in the box as a nickel linebacker. I think Jaden Hicks can be better than Dan Sorensen ever was in that role.
Daniel Harms is our guest, RGR Football, NFL33.com. We'll be looking for that drop coming up later on with Jaden Hicks. That's a fun one there. I love the Jaden Hicks pick. What do you think of the Chiefs' offense now? So they bring in Hollywood Brown. They bring in Xavier Worthy. We'll see how long the suspension is for Rashee Rice. Travis Kelce gets the new 2 years, gets a little bit more money. We'll see about the protection with the offensive line and everything. This was a team that was devoid of those big plays, of those 20-plus yard pass plays, explosive plays. Is that just is it simplistic to look at and go, well, that's going to return this year? How much do you think Andy Reid will play off of that? And with the drafting of Jared Wiley, will we see some combination speed / bigger guys on the field of a Wiley and Kelce or Kelce Gray while Xavier Worthy's out there or something like that? How do you think this offense changes when you bring in Hollywood, Xavier Worthy, and 6'6", 260, tight end that's sort of like a low post player in the end zone?
Yeah, I think you actually have to respect players going downfield this year. And everything MVS was for the Chiefs in the postseason, he almost never caught those deep balls. And then Sky Moore didn't catch the deep balls. Like last year, particularly, was everyone dropping every chance at a deep ball. And Patrick hasn't had the trust in the deep ball over the last couple of seasons. We've seen even 2 years ago when MVS was new to the team, they had multiple opportunities to go deep, and whether it was the receiver or the quarterback not trusting it, it didn't mesh. It was never on the same page. I think that even though defenses are still going to play too high, they're still going to force the Chiefs to beat you underneath. The simple fact that you actually have to respect and Marquise Brown going downfield, Xavier Worthy going downfield, whenever Rashee Rice gets back, I think they're going to use him on some more deep routes this year. I think you have to respect that more. And I'm thinking about like 12 personnel with Wiley added to it because I believe that he can come in and play kind of 13, 12 personnel pretty early on. He played a lot of different roles at TCU. I mean, we're talking out wide in the slot, detached from the offensive line, on the offensive line, H-back, sniffer. He played all over the place for TCU. So he has a lot of experience playing in multiple different offensive sets. then he adds that size and speed. So if you bring out Travis Kelce and Jared Wiley and 12 personnel, and then, I don't know, Xavier Worthy and Marquise Brown, have a little bit of fun with it. Put them both outside and then just kind of go crazy. You can do a lot of different things. So I'm not ready to say that we're just going to inject a bunch more big plays into this offense. I just think you're going to open up space a lot more than you've had over the last 2 seasons. They've got not just more speed, more vertical speed, but more guys that can do after the catch. I think that, Rashee Rice has proven he can do that. We know Travis Kelce can do that. I think Xavier Worthy is going to offer a unique sense to that because even his slant routes and post routes, he offers more after the catch than the Chiefs have had from that position point. And honestly, I'm going to be maybe on an island here. I think if with however much time Rashee Rice misses, you slot Sky Moore into that role, which should have been his role from day one. You also get some of that out of him. His best role is to do what Rashee Rice has been doing and what he did last year. So I think you still have more versatility from an offensive standpoint than you've had in recent memory.
Visiting with Daniel Harms, and I'm excited to see what they do, like going down the field, because it's not just that we saw that this team was devoid of big plays. Like the numbers completely back that up. Patrick Mahomes' worst career in attempts 20-plus yards down the field of quarterback rating was, oddly enough, the first year in 2018 when he had a 106.4. That was his worst quarterback rating of his entire career of 20-plus yard throws down the field. And this last year, he had a 34.
Oh, good Lord.
A 34 quarterback rating when throwing the ball 20 yards down the field. His previous worst was 106. And so adding that element, ball tracking, ability to catch the ball, right, things like that. He also had a 22% drop rate on passes 20 yards down the field, which is 1 out of every 5 throws that Patrick Mahomes threw the ball 20 yards down the field was marked and credited as a dropped pass. Is just unbelievably absurd for that to be the case. Like, even if you sort of even out some of that, like the offense becomes more explosive just by taking away what the deficiencies were and what felt like anchors on this team at times, and just felt like it was, they went from Legion of Zoom to, do they have anybody? Where's the speed at on this team? They can't get sideline to sideline with their running backs. They're too slow. McKinnon doesn't have the burst. Their fast guy can't catch the ball. Like they're slower around the field. Like, what is up with this offense? To then the next year they go, okay, cool, we're going to bring in Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, and enough with this lack of speed there, because we're going to do what we do and have Mahomes have some guys out there that he can't overthrow.
It's funny because when we think about MBS, everyone says, well, he's fast. He's build up fast. He is not burst fast. It was never you run and you're worried about him getting behind you quickly. It was, okay, we'll keep an eye on this guy. He can get up to speed. But no one ever really was worried about that. And that's one of the big things that they missed over the last 2 years. It's not necessarily that they lacked speed. They lacked burst.
Yeah.
That 10 to 15-yard
Good
burst
point.
of putting fear into those DBs of, okay, he can actually get behind me if I'm not really in there paying attention to him. And they have absolutely added that. And when you bring in those two guys and you still have the Rashee Rice underneath burst element, that's where it gets dangerous, because you can actually threaten defenses vertically and underneath with your yards after catch game. So I'm 100% with you. They actually have more dynamicism than they have had in the last 2 years based off those burst speed guys.
Daniel Harms is our guest. Where do you think they go now? Like, are there holes to fill? Where do you think they need to go if there's a spot or something lacking on this roster that you'd like to see them attack?
Oh, man, I still think that they're going to end up bringing in Donovan Smith. I think just by nature you can have him help at worst. And if you get into camp and realize, well, Kingsley needs more time than we thought, and Wanya Still's not where we want him to be, you have Donovan Smith in. It just makes sense. And they've even said that they're going to use rookie minicamp and OTAs as a feeling out process. If they need to bring in Donovan Smith, then they'll be able to do so. Anywhere else, I'm thinking maybe cornerback. They didn't exactly address the cornerback situation as much as I would have liked to see. And I know everyone's really excited about Jalen Watson and Josh Williams, but we heard rumors last year that coming into training camp, these guys weren't developing. And that's why Najee Johnson was in the role that he was in before he got hurt. He was slated to be that starter, along with Ladarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie. So I'm very interested to see what happens there. Are they going to put Trent McDuffie on the outside full time? If they do, does that mean Nick Jones maybe has an easier shot to make the roster as the slot? I'm trying to figure that out. So I think I would also look for a corner and then defensive tackle. Again, they did not bring anybody else in. They've got guys on one-year deals. And again, maybe they have more faith in Isaiah Buggs and Neil Farrell than I do. But the fact that Neil Farrell barely played last year, and I'm still kind of high on Isaiah Buggs, but he didn't play after they acquired him last year. I'm trying to figure out what that's all about. So the defensive line room kind of makes me a little shaky, to be honest.
Daniel Harms, RGR Football, NFL33.com. Daniel, really appreciate the time, man. Enjoy the park with your daughter, and thank you for the conversation here, and we'll catch up soon, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was great.
Absolutely. Daniel Harms, again, RGR Football. He's about to drop the video breakdown and the film study of Jaden Hicks, and I'm fascinated to see what they can do with Jaden Hicks. This is a guy that Spags just will absolutely love to use in different places, man. We talked about last year Shamari Connor. They traded up for Shamari Connor in the 4th round. They identified him and traded up for him. Jaden Hicks felt like it was – You got to. Like, there's nothing with, like, we have to take this guy because you can't just simply continue to pass on good football players that are there. You took wide receiver, you took tackle, you took tight end. Maybe you were looking to address a different position. Maybe it was running back. Maybe it was going to be another wide receiver. Maybe it was defensive tackle. But this guy's there, and he's going to be a good football player on the field. And if you lose Willie Gay, and you're looking at, a dime package or even a nickel package at times, you've got Drew Tranquill out there that can cover sideline to sideline. You throw in Jaden Hicks to go along with Connor being out there, and whether it's Cook or Reed or, McDuffie and Williams, Watson, Najee Johnson, like picking your different players there to fill out that, the rest of what would be the 7 guys. If Jaden Hicks is a guy there that can play in the box and can cover, he's faster than a linebacker, but is physical enough to come up and play against the run, because we've seen that in the film, then, they've got themselves a player, and it might be one we look back on and go, well, there they go. They found another defensive back in the 4th round. And even like Trey Smith, to me, Trey Smith is a little different than L'Jarius Sneed, because L'Jarius Sneed was one of those to where you found him in the 4th round and you develop him into this amazing cornerback, but it wasn't oh my God, they got the steal of the draft in the 4th round, but L'Jarius Sneed. It was like, they got a toolsy guy. He's got the traits. He's got the length, the things that the Chiefs like, that Spagnuolo likes, and he graded athleticism off the charts. Trey Smith was this is a 2nd-round guard that is in the 6th round because of health concerns. So when you got him in the 6th round, you sort of knew if you could figure out the blood clot and all of that was going on, which we found out was, according to Trey Smith, a misdiagnosis, that you were going to get really good value. He was going to be a good player. And Jaden Hicks feels like a consensus. How was he still there in the 4th round? Dane Brugler, number 1 safety on my board. Number of other guys, number 2 safety on the board. 2nd-round guy, how's he there in the 4th round? Like, it seems a consensus that this guy is such a value pick. He shouldn't have been there. He can be a good player. But I do think in a year or two, we might be looking at it and going, there's another 4th rounder that the Chiefs simply figured out and drafted and developed, and now he's there making plays for the Chiefs.
I don't know if you asked him or if he has maybe seen this. I wonder how close he relates to that Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah that
J.O.K.
The Browns got.
I can't ever pronounce his name, so I just go I just go J.O.K.
I was trying. He's almost the same size. 6'2", 222, and Jaden Hicks is 6'2", 212 right now. So you could add 10 pounds. And he's kind of like, he's listed as a linebacker, but he's smaller and he plays a lot faster.
What's Drew Tranquill listed as? Because he seems stockier, right? But he's not Nick Bolton, obviously. I don't know what he's listed. Drew Tranquill is coming in at a 6'2", 228.
Yeah.
So a little bit like JOK.
Kind of.
So you're talking, Jaden Hicks, 6'2", 212.
Maybe
So yeah,
plays
there's
a little linebacker.
Yeah, there's 16 pounds different, right? But I think he could be that.
You could add as well. I mean, he seems a little filled out.
He does
safety.
seem pretty stocky as well. So maybe he builds himself into a linebacker. Maybe that's where Drew Tranquill is on the team for 2 years, and after that, Jaden Hicks becomes maybe and fills that role for the last 2 years of his contract or something like that. Who knows what they end up doing with him? But 16 pounds can be a lot, certainly in the NFL. And if you add the 16 pounds, are you as fast as you'd like to be in getting sideline to sideline? That's one of the things that Drew Tranquill had, and Willie Gay certainly had, was that extreme athleticism. But also at times, Willie Gay looked the part but didn't actually play the part, the level that the Chiefs were hoping when they drafted him, of being that coverage tight end, a nickel linebacker that was going to guard and cover tight ends and running backs. At times he did, and this last year I think he played pretty well in that role, but not well enough to where the Chiefs felt like they needed to bring him back and keep him from going somewhere else, and he went to the Saints, not on a massive deal.
Did you already look at the Willie Gay measurements?
I have not, no.
It's 6'1", 243. So
yeah,
a little
Willie Gay.
stockier.
Willie Gay was thicker.
Yes,
he was and that was where the athletic sort of freak comes in, is that he was 240 thicker and
Moving
still
around like he's
ran like the
220,
wind, like he was. Yeah, exactly. He ran like he was 20 pounds lighter, like some of the other linebackers out there.
Well, it sure seems.
What's that?
Well,
Dylan did not want to hear you talk.
Dylan's like, no, man,
No,
you do not
you get
want to hear
nothing.
his thoughts
He's got
on
his time
this.
allotted.
Yes.
Do not want to hear.
All right. Well, the hourglass is now going. Now you're cutting into your next segment time.
It's
Sterling.
like a
I don't know.
rookie pitcher where it's an innings limit. I have a talk limit.
Workload.
It's a workload.
It's already
Workload
Wednesday.
Time management.
Yeah, we're workloading you.
Yeah. I kind of forgot what I was going to say.
We were talking about Willie Gay and Jaden Hicks.
It does seem like the new transition in the NFL has been towards safeties being able to do that instead of just linebackers. It does seem. It kind of started with Jamal Adams, actually, right? I feel like Jamal Adams was the start of this. But you're seeing a lot of teams take those linebackers off the field in lieu. Brian Cook can do it to an extent as well, to go up against those tight ends, to go up against those running backs out of the backfield. We obviously know the Chiefs love those 3 safety sets to begin with. This, to me, is just a great fit. And also, I keep hearing, box safeties, grade the line of scrimmage. Part of me is wondering, and Justin Reed's been great for Kansas City. I think Justin Reed's been a phenomenal player. I think he's been a huge mentality shift for the defense as well. I think sometimes what he brings to the table is not always quantified by the numbers, but you can save money at safety. Justin Reed's not going to be a cheap safety when his contract is up. This could just be okay, Justin, we appreciate you. You get your 3 rings. I'm saying they go and win this year.
Yeah, for sure.
The 3-peat, of course.
No, I love it.
So you get your 3 rings. Thank you for your service. Make your money elsewhere. And then you see Hicks step in and take that role.
Yeah, the comparison I saw, I think it was the KCSN guys, was it Talanoa Hufanga for the 49ers? I think
that's a good one.
Yeah, that was the comparison they made of guy that can run around, is going to hit you, is going to play at different parts in the field, can come down and
It's
play
like
in the
cruise
box.
missile, basically.
Yeah, is going to play in the box at times, but can cover deep and play a deep safety if he needs to. Boy, if he turns into anywhere near that, then they got themselves a hell of a player.
Yeah, an all-pro, basically.
Yeah, Hufanga's awesome, man. And I think I nailed the first name there. Killed it there.
Mini Troy.
Yeah, right, yeah. But we'll see. I mean, this is a 4th-round pick. If it doesn't turn out, well, you know what? They saw value there, and he's not required to come in and be a starting safety right now. He is good value. If you draft him in the 2nd round like they did Brian Cook, it was you're drafting him to be your starter next year, because Juan Thornhill was in the last year of his contract. Justin Reed was in the first year. You knew the changeover was coming with Reed and then Brian Cook. This guy's a 2nd-rounder that essentially they got in the 4th, so hopefully it ends up being that. We'll take a timeout, come back. We'll continue more zone. Right after this, we'll talk about some of that deep passing threat that we discussed a little bit with Daniel Harms and how that relates even to Hollywood Brown. We'll do that next. All right, hanging out here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We'll talk with Mick Schaefer, 1 o'clock, KSHB 41 sports director. He'll hang out with us, and we'll take you up to 2 o'clock, where Soren Petro and the program and Curtis Seabolt and Adam Dravetta will take over until 6 o'clock tonight. We'll hear from Bethany Bowman tonight with She's on the Mic, and then the Mavericks-Clippers game will take place after that, which people can watch if they want to, if they have come down from the Tyrese Maxey high of last night's game. Brunson v. Maxey, back and forth and back and forth.
Has anyone checked on Jon Stewart yet?
I don't know.
I
It
think
looked
he's-
like
is he all right?
when that
He was frozen. I don't know if he
when
thawed
that
out
panned.
yet.
Oh yeah, I saw somebody take the still shot, and I wish I would have, because when that panned, I'm like, that was Jon Stewart just staring there frozen.
This is Rob Perez, I think, and then CJ Fogler, both amazing at finding something on television immediately. So yeah, it was perfect.
One of them tweeted out that said Tyrese Maxey took Jon Stewart's soul, because he was just like
darkness, my old friend.
just staring. Like, there's no reason for them to tie that game. You're down 6 with 30 seconds to play. And I know the NBA is different than some, but you're down 6 with 30 seconds to play, and Maxey hits those shots. Like, come on. Well, first of all, the foul and the three.
The 4-point play. I was, and I'm a Sixers guy. I'm watching this. When they're down 6 with 30 seconds left, I go, this is over. I'm like, gosh, I can't believe it. And
So
now,
did StatMuse. StatMuse tweeted that this is the first Knicks series win or something in whatever years. They
oh
had
my
to delete the tweet.
gosh.
Well, there was I guess a pretty big Knicks fan site, sort of Twitter, that certainly we see with Chiefs and Royals and things like that. And was it McBride that hit the shot when the Knicks were up 4?
Yep.
And said McBride just ended the 76ers season.
that little 12-foot or whatever it was, yeah.
When they were double teaming
yeah.
Brunson.
Yeah.
He just tweeted, McBride just ended the 76ers season.
Oh, I
And
thought
then
it was done too,
everybody
man.
just started clowning me. He's like, I'm sorry. Okay?
Yeah.
Whatever the Twitter account owned it and was having fun with it. It was
Sure.
like, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay? I apologize. Never again. Right? It was fun, but that's what I thought. That's what everybody thought. That's the game. Okay, they needed to get a stop there. They're down by 4, and now they're down 6, and there's only 30 seconds to play. And you're going to have to get somehow 6 points or probably 8 points, because they're going to still shoot free throws in 30 seconds. No way.
They got 7.
The Knicks got revenge for Reggie Miller in the same series that they also had to relive it.
That's right. Yeah, somebody
Yeah.
somebody tweeted that out too and said Tyrese Maxey after this game, and it was the picture of Reggie Miller to Spike Lee.
Tyrese Miller.
There you go.
There we go.
That's right.
We nailed it.
Reggie Maxey.
I now understand why, and I did for a while. They had the chance to trade Tyrese Maxey a while ago for James Harden. That was the alleged. This was a while ago. Back. This is when no one really
I
knew.
saw this tweet too, I think, of the quote from their front office about him.
Yes, this was a while ago. I don't know if they brought it back up and resurfaced it, but they're like, no, Maxey's off the table. We're not trading Tyrese Maxey. And at the time, everyone's like, well, this is James Harden almost in his prime, and you're not going to trade this young cat. You have no idea who he is. And then
He
you
was a
look,
cat. He was from Kentucky. He was a Wildcat.
He was a Wildcat, and you're just sitting here going, oh, okay, now we understand why.
Yeah.
It's not just his ability to create his own shot, his ability to create off the dribble. It's his ability to finish. At the rim, at his size, it's close to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie is the best finisher. Is the best finisher, but the only one who I think body control wise is even in that next tier down. I think you're starting to look at Tyrese Maxey in a game where Embiid did have a triple double. It wasn't like Embiid had this dominating game. Kyle Lowry, your point guard, had 0 points. It wasn't like Kelly Oubre was having a great game. It was Tyrese Maxey time and time again taking over with a sprinkling. I got to give credit where credit's due. Tobias Harris finally had a decent game. And the
He hit
most
some free throws.
underrated aspect of this game was the final possession. Jalen Brunson had a chance to end it before they went to overtime with 8 seconds. And Nick Batum, of all people, Batum, great defense, just blocked it out of bounds, and it was just no foul. It was phenomenal, man. That was an exhilarating game.
There's no reason for that thing to go into overtime, and somehow it
No.
did. Yeah.
So I found the quote here from the Sixers front office. The 76ers are telling teams that Tyrese Maxey is untouchable per Windhorse ESPN. This is July 3rd of last summer. The quote is, prime Michael Jordan is available, don't call. 25-year-old LeBron James is available, lose our number. Giannis Antetokounmpo says, I want to be a Sixer. If Tyrese Maxey is the ask, just stop calling.
It's interesting. Yeah, he's been awesome. And one of the other things of my takeaway of how different and what took place with basketball this year, and we talk about the impact of the women's game in college basketball and Caitlin Clark. When Tyrese Maxey, down by 3, came off the screen and pulled up from the logo and buried it, my first thought was, oh, Caitlin Clark. Not, hey, Steph Curry, which is, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it's like, oh, yeah, Steph Curry, that's what he would do. But there's been so much of the logo with Caitlin Clark, and I understand it's a bigger court there in the NBA, so it's further back than the college courts. But still, him coming off the screen and just pulling from logo and just ripping the net, my first thought was, yeah, Caitlin Clark.
The stone. I still say Jimmer, by the way. That's Jimmer range. But the
is that Farouk Manesh?
That's some stones.
Sorry, Dylan. Apologize about that, man.
Farouk Manesh, yeah.
No, take it back.
But to take that shot in that situation right there,
yeah.
I mean, I get you're the guy to take that shot.
There's still 14 seconds left,
but
right?
there was a lot of time left, and that's what you're pulling right there. Phenomenal, and I do love that he also played 52 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
All the load management during the regular season. I love how the NBA is now somewhat buying into it with the commercials of the playoff blank and blank, playoff so-and-so. And they're like, no, that's not a real thing. And then they're like, it kind of is. Because it really is. You're not playing 52 minutes on the regular season. You're not seeing him. Buddy Hield. Buddy didn't play a single minute in this game. Buddy, who was a big part of the rotation during the season, come postseason time, it's, no, man, Tyrese, I don't care if you're tired, you're playing 52. Embiid, with your knees, with all your injuries, you're playing 48. Like, I just love the NBA come playoff time where it's okay.
No load management.
This is what we've been waiting for.
You're load managing for this time of the year. I mean,
Yeah.
you load management now, then you're 1, 2, 3 Cancun. So it doesn't matter if how much you have in the tanks to see how much you can party in Cancun in a week from now. Talking to Chiefs with Daniel Harms, and we talked about the Chiefs' offense and what hopefully they can do this year with adding a Hollywood Brown and adding Xavier Worthy in the first round. We know they were terrible in 20-plus yard passes, explosive passing plays. We know they were bad last year. I didn't realize it was this bad. So I brought this up with Daniel. The lowest quarterback rating for Patrick Mahomes on passes 20 or more yards down the field. The lowest quarterback rating of his entire career was his first year in 2018, and that was a 106.4. Passes, not 20-yard gains, passes where the ball travels, and by the way, it has to be 20 yards past the line of scrimmage. So not 20 yards from where he throws it. If he's 6 or 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage, that means it's 26 air yards from when he releases it, but it's a 20-yard pass air yard from the line of scrimmage. The worst of his career was 106.4 in 2018. He had a quarterback rating of 34.1 last year. 34.1 last year. His previous quarterback ratings of passes 20 or more yards down the field, 106.4, 122.9 in 2019, 109.5 in 2020, 113.3 final year of Tyreek Hill, 107.1 first year of no Tyreek Hill, 34.1. And not only that, like you look at the drop rates. So in 2018, these are the drop rates going back from 2018. 6.4, the drop percentage. 6.4, 3, again, 20 or more yard throws. 6.4, 3, 13.3 in 2020. 6.1, 6.7, 22.
Yikes.
They were dropping 1 out of every 5 times Mahomes threw the ball 20 yards down the field was a dropped pass. Not just an incompletion. It was a dropped pass down the field. And they completed only 10. They completed 10 fewer 20-yard passes this year than they did even last year. It's almost it's one every other game. It's an extra 20-yard play every other game. That extends a drive, right? That puts maybe 3 points on the board, maybe another touchdown on the board. You're losing close games, things like that. I mean, 2018, they completed 44 passes like that. Last year, they completed 18. I mean, that's 3 every 2 games that you were adding in another explosive play. And it doesn't have to be just 20.
Yeah.
It's throws 20 yards down the field. Could be 30 or 40. It's those big explosive plays that the Chiefs were severely lacking. They completed 18 passes where the ball flew 20 yards down the field. 18 passes, 1 per game. Unbelievable with Patrick Mahomes.
And the 22% drop rate actually seems low, but it makes more sense when you realize when MVS was not in the right spot, when McCole Hardman was not in the right spot running the correct route. Those don't count as drops.
But it's 22% on passes 20 or more yards, not 22% drop rate of the whole season.
Well, no, that's my point.
Yeah,
But like, on these deep balls, it's, how many times were you screaming, get in the right spot? Right. Why are you running into the safety?
Yeah.
And that's not counting as a drop. I mean, again, they were off all season long. And I think Mahomes did have a few errant throws as well. I think it's fair to criticize, and maybe at one point it's because he's probably in his dome because you're sitting here going, well, he's running into the safety. I'm not going to throw the ball into the safety, so I'm going to have to throw it over here where he's not because I don't want to risk an interception. We're going to see, in my opinion, him revert back to the 109 because last year was the outlier. There's all of a sudden no reason why he just forgot how to shoot. Or it's like when we say, they forgot to shoot threes.
Yeah.
Mahomes did not just forget how to throw the deep ball.
Although Timberlake may have forgot.
He may have forgot.
Yeah,
he may have forgot. That's questionable.
In December, I had said that Nick Timberlake did not forget how to shoot threes just because he put on a KU uniform.
And we always say Timberlake and Mahomes are about the same player, right? We always say they're very, like, Timberlake's the Mahomes of basketball, right?
I've always said that.
You've always said that. So.
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, Justin
is the
Timberlake,
Mahomes of performing.
But so you should see him revert back to the 106, 107 passer rating at a minimum. There's no reason to believe now that his main deep threats, McCole, MVS, and I guess to an extent Justin Watson, he's still on the roster. But even Rashee Rice, who he helped bolster those numbers later on, probably. They weren't using him in the deep routes early on. Everything was at the line of scrimmage until the season went on and he showed trust and Andy Reid believed in him on the deep ball. This is going to skyrocket up next year, and you're going to look around the NFL and defenses are going to be like, we bleeped up. We should have taken advantage of when Mahomes had one down year on deep balls. We never took advantage of that.
Well, and we talk about a match made in heaven and what a great marriage is. Xavier Worthy, obviously going to be great is a great match. I don't know that he's going to be great, but a great match for what the Chiefs want to do, what his speed brings. I looked at the catchable percentage. So these are players with at least 100 targets last year. So you had to have at least 100 targets. So it's a pretty decent receiver. So at least 100 targets last year. The catchable percentage of your targets. Do you know who ranked dead last? Dead last out of all receivers that got at least 100 targets.
Man.
It's a connection, obviously.
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to think because...
And I'm talking about a match made in heaven, a marriage where both... It's Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown, of all of his targets, the graded as catchable was 55%. 55% of his targets were graded as even catchable for Hollywood Brown. Now, you want to talk about Mahomes saying, oh, I finally got some speed and a deep threat. And Hollywood going, oh, thank God, I finally got somebody who can throw me the freaking ball. You're throwing it to me, but it's not catchable. So it's like, look at his catch percentage. Like, the targets are there, but why isn't he catching the ball? Because 55% graded out is uncatchable. And you know what? You look at the other receivers here. DK Metcalf had Geno Smith, but, Amari Cooper with Deshaun Watson, but also injured and all that stuff. Calvin Ridley, which is an interesting one because of Trevor Lawrence.
Overrated Lawrence.
Elijah Moore in New York, the Jets. Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield, although, Baker Mayfield looked better this year. Terry McLaurin in Washington.
Slinging Sam.
DeAndre Hopkins in Tennessee with whatever they were trying to figure out in their quarterback position. Garrett Wilson, Jets again. And Devontae Adams. What do all those guys have in common? Almost all of them had crap quarterbacks this last year. And obviously Hollywood got injured when Kyler Murray was coming back. But that's sort of the point that we'll see I don't know what that catch percentage would have been if he stayed healthy all year and then played with Kyler Murray. Because Marquise Brown's numbers, when he had a healthy Kyler Murray and a healthy Lamar Jackson, he was essentially a 1,000-yard receiver with like 8 touchdowns a season and 110 catches. Like, he was that type of player when he had healthy quarterbacks throwing him the ball. But when you look at the motley crew of people that he played with at quarterbacks, when Lamar was injured and Kyler was injured, good God.
One actually might have been Tommy Lee of the motley crew. It actually may have been Tommy.
No, it was actually Pamela Anderson. It was.
Oh yeah,
it was crazy. It's but you know what? She's pretty good. She's pretty good. A little bit, better than. Trying to think of one of the random guys at McSorley. Trace McSorley.
Yeah, Trace McSorley
was a guy that he played like 3 games with. Hollywood Brown had a quarterback as Trace McSorley for like 3 games. Like, yeah, enjoy that one. Why isn't he putting up numbers? I don't know, because that guy who's serving peanuts next year is the one throwing him the football. In the 1 o'clock hour, KSHB 41 sports director. Chiefs draft. They got the mini camp for the rookies coming in this weekend. Phase 2 going on with Travis Kelce signing his contract. We'll talk to Mick Schaefer about that. Stadium rendering videos being put out last night. And the back and forth between the states of what could be trying to lure the Chiefs and Royals over to the Kansas side, while Jackson County and the Missouri side trying to keep the Chiefs and Royals. So we'll talk to Mick Schaefer about a couple of those things and more. Royals in action today with Seth Lugo on the mound. We talked a lot of Royals as well, and look into this Chiefs team and a couple of other things with Hollywood Brown and the draft picks. That comes up with Mick Schaefer next. Fever are.
I feel like it should be Fever is. It's singular.
Now you're talking soccer.
Yeah, no. You're talking soccer.
No.
No, they would say R.
sickness,
Soccer would say
fever.
R.
Fever.
Right? Say they would say Germany are going to the World Cup final. Right? They say R. I would say is because Germany's singular. You want to be on my side on
The
this one.
Fever is.
Yeah.
But I was thinking more.
But
the
they've always
players
done it
over-
your way. Like the Heat, they've always said Heat as a collective.
Yeah. See, I was thinking the
plural,
players.
basically.
In my mind, I was picturing the players. So the Fever players are holding it. But yeah, you're right.
gotta
The
say
Fever,
players, though, right?
Right.
I mean,
I would have to say players. In my mind, it
Mizzou
could just-
is going to the big dance. You
Right,
wouldn't say
yeah.
Mizzou are going to the big dance.
Yeah, we've already figured
If
out.
you
how
say
to,
R, you've got to do a British accent.
Right. We've already figured out how to conjugate a long time ago.
Or
We're not gonna
Buchanan
redo-
accent.
Scrumptious. That's the Buchanan accent, right? Yeah.
The
So the,
Hungarian assassin.
yes, the Fever is.
Is.
I just feel like I need a cowbell. That's all I think right
Really?
now. Yeah.
Why is that?
Fever.
Oh, I see.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, that's you need. Is there a prescription for that? Apparently, it's not.
Don't ruin this for us, Sterling. Don't ruin this for us, Gene.
Yeah. Oh man, what was the medicine in Wayne's World? Wayne's World. Where it's like,
Oh, the
not
not
Miles.
Excedrin or whatever it is.
No,
It's
no, it was,
Motrin or
No, it's not anything that's out right now. It's when they were doing the sponsorships where Garth is like, it's like people only do things now for money, and that's just really sad, And he's like, I can't do it anymore. It's giving me a headache. And then Garth comes in and says, hey, take 2 of these, and then dumps the thing and it lands. Little Nuprin. Little
I remember
yellow.
Hibernol.
Yes.
That's the one I remember.
It bounces in his hand. Nuprin, little, yellow, different. You got a fever. What's the prescription? Nuprin, little, yellow, different.
I will not bow to any sponsor.
Yes, that's right. Well, that's fine. It's your choice. Yes. And it's the choice of a new generation. It's one of the best scenes in any movie. It's fantastic. I just love Garth's full Reebok. It's like people only do things now for money, and that's just really sad. Mick Schaefer, speaking of that, hanging out with us, KSHB. Speaking of doing things only for money, Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41.
What I do
Sports
radio
Director.
for, it's not money.
Ditto. So
Companionship?
for
Fellowship?
fun. Yeah, fellowship, fun.
I just
Hanging out.
Middle of Overland Park. Just kind of get to the heart of Overland Park.
Opinion shaper.
Opinion.
You've wanted to be that.
Yeah. Shift.
Court
shaper.
ordered.
Yeah, right. That's it.
Community service. Things like that. Mick, did you just see the rendering? The video rendering
Yeah, I did.
of Arrowhead. So, sorry,
Would that-
whatever it'd be called. I don't know. New Arrowhead, Arrowhead, Ledge, Arrowgens.
Ledge.
Arrowgens. I'm not sure. But
Legends
GEHA
Legends
Field
Head.
at Legends
Legends Head.
at Arrowhead.
Yes.
Formerly
that's-
known as Arrowhead.
That's right.
Formerly known like
Yes.
Prince.
What'd you think of the rendering?
I
huh?
loved it when the Chiefs aren't involved and like legislatures aren't involved and involved. It's just like the creative types, right? It was just the firm that came up with that. So I loved it. It had looked like a roof, a retractable roof, right? I'm
that
trying
thing
to
right
figure out exactly. My guess was it just west of the Speedway? There's a lot of land there.
There's a lot of land. Yeah.
I couldn't quite tell like which kind of corner of 435 and I-70 it was
Wasn't-
on, but I thought in the renderings it looked like the Speedway might have been right next to it.
Wasn't part of the Schlitterbahn was where they were maybe thinking of moving because that'd
be on the other side. Then
be on the other
of the,
side. Yeah, so it'd
that'd
be
be
east,
kind of
right?
the northeast corner of that.
Yeah, sort of corridor area.
Well, I guess you wouldn't really call it 70 the one. Maybe State Avenue as the crossing point there.
Yeah, so that was at least part of like a while ago maybe that they had talked about. That would be if the Chiefs were ever to move over there. This
I
might
think
be a
there's
spot, but who knows? There's
lands
plenty of
out there.
land.
There's plenty of options out there. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of land that you can go and build out there. We talked about it in the first hour, Mick, and I was curious to get your opinion on it because I think the Chiefs were well aware that the video was going to come out last night. I think the Chiefs have been aware of at least Kansas, discussing it. I don't know that. I don't know that they planned it as in like, hey, let's release this on a Tuesday on April 30th, okay? But I think it was one of those to where, hey, we're putting this together with this firm, and they're going to release it. And whether it was Mark Donovan or whoever was like, sure, let's do it. Great, whatever. If that's going to spur Missouri, let's do it because Clark Hunt's saying there's more of a sense of urgency now. 3 years ago, it was like, it's like almost a decade away from us, needing a new lease and somewhere to go. Well, that took 3 years to get a no vote. And, well, at least from when the Royals started talking about going downtown. So not necessarily 3 years to get a no vote, but it's now time for a little more sense of urgency, which means, hey, Kansas, what do you have to offer? Missouri, what are you going to have to offer? And, hey, this makes it a little more tangible, a little more real if it was like, well, Kansas is talking about adding or bringing the Chiefs, but come on, like, oh, they've already got some
rendering.
That's
the next step,
rendering
right?
with an actual firm that would build it, a local firm there. You see sort of an area that's not just an activation zone, but it's like
I did not see an activation zone,
which is a big miss. I think
I saw some rows of trees though.
Yeah, so if you're a tree climber, you can be active.
Yeah.
In that area. But like an amphitheater and like hotels that look like actual sort of hotels that might be used from time to time. Like I love the rendering, but I don't know that So there's got to be a lot more that comes with the rendering. But I think what it did is it at least places a step. For Missouri of, hey, Kansas is a little more serious about this than just lip service because they're trying to get it passed to the legislature. Not that they will, but, you got to figure some things out.
So was it late February when we saw the drawings, or were we into March when we saw the Chiefs' plans for Arrowhead and Jackson County? So if this got released,
wasn't it March? Because
I think you're right.
It was come
really
out?
It was, I think, maybe early in the March, but it was really late in the process.
But I know it was in March when the Royals put out the Crossroads rendering when they decided it was Crossroads, because we were at Rally House downtown and around the Big 12 tournament and everything is when it was like, oh, the Royals are going to announce and put out the renderings for the Crossroads districts. Like, oh, they finally picked a spot.
Definitely after
a
the
month
Super
away.
Bowl, right? It was after the Super Bowl.
It was.
So
You're
let's
right.
put it 2 months ago.
Yeah.
If these exact drawings come out, these renderings come out 2 months ago, and it's just placed right in Jackson County where the K and the A are now, do you get a yes vote?
I think you might if you split it. Because what I would be fascinated.
I just the excitement of seeing these as opposed to just the like, okay, yeah, the meh reaction to the renderings of what they were going to do with the renovations. I wonder if that's enough. Now it was what 16 points. It's a big gap there, but I wonder if that would be enough to put them over the edge.
I would love to know what the numbers would be if you just split them. Like you had a yes/no for the Royals and yes/no for the Chiefs. Because there was some people that were going, well, if the Chiefs wanted this, then hey, that's great. But the Royals are trying to move away from. Well, I'll vote for the
winners,
the renovation
right?
for the
That's
Chiefs.
what it comes down to.
Whatever, if the Chiefs want this, the Chiefs can have it. Then there were others that
the
were
others
going.
don't deserve this. I think that's in the back of so many voters' minds. They'll bring up all the other issues with parking, with taxes, and all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, you want to vote for the winners, right? And part of it is like, I don't want to. These guys haven't won in forever. Why do they deserve this?
I think there was a segment of the voting public that looked at it and said the Chiefs are offering nothing. Like, so if I'm voting for this, the Chiefs are putting in $300 million and $500 million of the 3/8 cent tax is going to go for 25 years to add end zone suite. That's like I do wonder, like from that, it's like, well, at least the Royals, it's $2 billion. Like they're building a stadium, like they're presenting something, like it's going to continue to reshape downtown. Arrowhead, they're just going to get you activated for $800 million and add a suite.
Bridge. You forgot about the bridge.
That's right. Oh, and there's more premium entryways for the people that are going to be able to afford the tickets.
Yes. Like Mick.
Yes,
like Mick
the
was
Mick
thrilled by
Schaefer's.
that. Yeah, the Mick Schaefer's.
Well, the bridge to Terabithia. That's what was the other end of it. That's where the bridge went. They didn't. I don't feel like they emphasized that point enough.
It's a yes vote,
right? But
it's a yes vote from everybody.
This goes back to just the probably untrue notion, but the notion of like, did they sandbag this thing of like, are you really think that? I really think the Chiefs and their plans could have put it over the top for them and the Royals, and they didn't. And this looks like all the other renderings of all the new ballparks and all the other sports and all the other cities around America. That's what that looked like. Like, okay, yeah, that looks familiar. That looks new age. That looks like next step. That looks like 2025, 2030. Whereas the activation zone and the trees and the bridge
it looked like
did
they
not.
forgot that was from the original Arrowhead drawings. Like, this is what it was going to look like.
What if we put some trees in the parking lot?
Yes.
We also reroute some of the park and the entry and exits to Truman Sports Complex. Now it's easier in and out. There's some more parking spaces and everything. Also, we are going to get you activated in this area over there. Such a corporate term.
Not you, Kadarius Toney. You'll be inactive for the game.
If you were healthy.
Yeah.
I like the.
But you're quote unquote unhealthy right now.
I do like the idea of the activation zone where you line up all 53 players. And then for the actual ones that are active on game day,
7 just stay there.
7 just stay there. They just stay.
46 get beamed up somehow.
Andy Reid's got his folder there. Okay, so Patrick Mahomes, if you hear your name, go ahead and come over on this side. You're active. Let's see, Travis Kelce, Pacheco. They get all the way down to the end. All right, that's it. And Kadarius Toney's like, hey, Coach, what about me? He's like, oh, Kadarius, your name's on here, right? I read your name, right? No, you didn't. Oh, then you're not active. So go over there, jackass. I didn't say your name. Would you drop it in translation there, guy? I would have called you to tell you you're not on it, but you'd have dropped the call. I didn't say your name. It would have been a great way to let him know that he was like...
Cornell Powell and Jack Cochran just grab a Busch Light with the fans, start drinking.
See, that's
we're
the activation.
Don't worry,
zone.
We're fine.
We're not. You'll hear your name before I'll hear mine. So
all of a
let's just
sudden
go
you
ahead
hear
and hang out
Jack
here.
Cochran's name and he's 12 Busch Lights deep. No, Coach, I think I'm inactive today.
What happened? Neil Farrell's like, really? Sorry, honey, gotta go. I'll see you at next tailgate. That would be great. That would be awesome, man. Just right before.
And the vote no killed that dream.
Yes. I mean, the vote knows you saved the K, but we lost the activation zone where now all they're going to do is, 90 minutes before the game, here's your piece of paper. Here's your actives and inactives. Oh, get your fantasy lineups ready. Pff, boring. Come on, man. Let's get activated here in different ways. Let's do this.
Yeah,
man.
but I think you're seeing a Kansas legislature that's ready to pounce, right? Mm-hmm. That they're already talking about it, and I think you're right. It's that those renderings weren't just released independently.
Yeah.
You know what? I had a little time. Okay, on Monday. Right, I got my
doodles.
My doodles, my After Effects, right? Whatever they use, and
I put it in
this
chat,
is just first draft. If you just want. Here you go, Channel 41, Channel 4, Channel 9.
Put it in chat GPT, and this is
yes.
the rendering it came
AI
up. So I just
should look like.
2024 retractable roof football stadium. Go. Ooh, look at this. We're even do like a drone flyover there. This is pretty neat.
They even had the Ring of Honor on the outside.
They did, didn't they?
Right?
Yes.
Which, by the way, actually solves a lot of the issues because I think a lot of people are a little worried of what's going to happen.
Yeah,
when
there's
the
more
names...
room on the outside.
Yeah.
A wider track.
Oh,
What
circumference,
then?
if you will. Right.
Yeah, I know well.
Yeah.
Right. What happens when you fill up the facade? I mean, the Chiefs are going to be here for a while. I mean, you've got Mahomes and Kelsey and Chris Jones. You got a lot more that are still going in.
Put another ring. Put a ring on top. It's like a tree.
Oh, yeah. So as it gets older, every year it gets older, you add a new ring of a facade. Or you
Tom is going in, or you just start inducting guys with short names. Tom Hawley, yeah, you're short enough, barely. Okay,
sorry. We're actually just going to put T. Kelsey. Okay, so that's sorry.
Kingsley Suamataia.
You got no chance.
It doesn't
buddy.
matter. You could have a Hall of Fame career. You ain't getting in our ring. Okay.
Listen, Karloftis. Anyway, you can go by Carl.
Yes.
Can you just change your name to Carl?
Trey
Felix.
Smith.
Yeah,
liking your chances.
Felix, you good with FAU?
Prince Tega Winogo. Sorry, gonna have to not bring you back.
And you'll need to start for us eventually too and actually play. But yeah, the name's gonna cancel you out.
The name is gonna
Willie Gay surprisingly made it.
Yeah,
Willie Gay.
There you go.
He made it.
He's in there. Prince Tega Winogo. Nope, you're not on this list of activated people. You can hang out though. Enjoy the beers.
We were having a good time with it in the newsroom last night. Our assignment editors and some of the producers were like, Mick, is going to be the Tonganoxie Chiefs out there? I'm like, I think Piper Chiefs.
Piper Chiefs, yeah.
And maybe the Baser Royals. Baser Chiefs and Linwood Royals.
Well, Dove Kleiman thinks you can call them the Kansas City Chiefs.
They're
finally.
Yes, they can finally move to Kansas City.
Yeah, they're being lured to go to Kansas City. So that's pretty cool.
Is that typo, or does he think Kansas City only exists in Kansas? The Chiefs are in Missouri, but not in a place called Kansas City. What does he think?
I think he's dumb. So I'm going to say that his general dumbness would offer that his general ignorance on understanding Kansas City being sort of the area overall, while kind of both sides of the state line. There is a KCK, there's a North Kansas City, there's a Kansas City, Missouri. They are playing in Kansas City, Missouri, but, you get the point. I don't think he's aware of that.
So you think he's right and we're wrong? That's what I heard.
No, I think he's dumb.
He's so far into the gimmick that he had to tweet out something that would, get a lot of interest
Yeah,
like that.
I know, and I
that's
fell
just
for it.
The, what am I thinking of here? That's just the stencil, I guess, for his tweets. Basically.
right.
That's
It
a
caused
good-
a lot of issues, capital letters
right.
at the beginning, and then he just filled everything else in like an ad lib.
Yes.
There could be 2 Miami teams in the NFL. Miami County Chiefs.
Is that right? Yes, the Miami County Chiefs.
The Miami County Chiefs, yeah.
They would have to
I believe
go
that's
way
a-
south.
I
Well,
believe
yeah,
that's
that'd
a-
go way south, but I mean, I'm just throwing that out
I believe
there.
that's a U12 football team.
Yeah.
Is the Miami County Chiefs. And pretty good, too, by the way.
The Dot Chiefs.
Don Cheadle, I don't know if you listen to the Smartless podcast, but
All the time, never.
it's pretty good.
I'm not a podcast.
I know, yeah, you don't like the podcasts. I get it. Shane listens to podcasts a lot. But they had Don Cheadle
That's
on.
why.
And they were talking about him and Kansas. And they started, so Jason Bateman was like, okay, so I'm dumb. How does this work? Are there any teams in Kansas? So, like, it's Kansas City, but do they all play in Missouri? And so then, Will Arnett and Don Cheadle and they're making fun of Jason Bateman just being geographically dumb.
Yeah.
Okay, but Kansas City's not the worst culprit of this.
I know.
It's New York. The Giants
they're
and the
the worst,
Jets
yeah.
play in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
They should become the New Jersey Jets.
Right, it's not like it's the Missouri Chiefs that would then be playing on the Kansas side. It's not the
Right.
It's not Sporting Missouri.
We're not mislabeled. They are.
Yeah, New York is literally
You're
like,
right.
hey, we're the New York Giants, but you play in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yeah.
You're the Jersey Giants.
Yeah, it's not Sporting Missouri.
Yeah.
They moved to Kansas. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're just going to keep it Sporting Missouri. No, it's Sporting Kansas City. 'Cause it's Kansas
Tampa's
City.
walking a line too.
Yeah, they're
being in
pretty,
St. Pete,
yeah.
and I know it's Tampa Bay, and that's an area, but there's Tampa, the city, right next to St. Pete. And all these teams are in St. Pete.
It's like when people are like, oh, you live in Tampa Bay? No, I don't. I live in Tampa
I
because
don't live in the ocean.
I don't live out in the bay. Okay, so no, I don't. Oh,
Chicago? Where do you live in Chicago? Oh, like 3 hours away. It's actually, it's barely in Illinois.
Yes.
Yeah. The California Angels were like, how can we make this a little easier for everyone? The California Angels? What if
Where are they at?
we were the Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles
Mm-hmm.
Angels. Yeah.
County, yeah. When I moved to Louisville, people were like, "Oh, you're from Kansas City, you big KU fan?" No. Why would you think that? Well, it's
Kansas in the title.
Kansas is in the
So I would think,
and I'm
like-
like, you know what? Well, Kansas City was a city before Kansas was a state, so whatever.
Big UMKC guy.
Big. Yeah,
no root,
that's
no
right.
root.
I told everybody, I was like, nope, Bearcats, man. Cincinnati, no, Northwest. Football powerhouse. Also, watch out for this Ben McCollum basketball coach.
Yeah.
He's a real up and comer.
So, I mean, we should think about like how easy it is to make the mistake about Tampa Bay and take it easier on the people when they mess up Kansas City.
But
Right.
but not
Or
Dove.
not. But not Dove.
Maybe Jason.
Well, that wasn't normal. That was out of nowhere. That wasn't the normal thing of
that was him
thinking
being dumb.
Kansas
Yeah.
City teams are in Kansas.
That's like I take it easier on Jason Bateman because he also offered his ignorance up front.
Yeah.
I'm dumb. Okay, I don't know geography. It's one of the running jokes that they have with Sean Hayes and Will Arnett and Jason Bateman.
I like it when people think they understand everything and they'll hear Sporting Kansas City and like, oh, in Kansas. No, Sporting Kansas City. It's in Missouri. I'm like, well, actually, that was in Kansas. Even though like the business offices are downtown, right? But they play and practice in Kansas, and so they're the Kansas team. So yeah,
I do love like this St. Louis, the lower cases of soccer in the country when they were
the lower cases.
What? What are they?
I like that.
Okay.
Laughing.
Little brother, lowercase. So they were, with Sporting Kansas. They're like, soccer. Okay, well, you're not even in Missouri. The bleep does that have to say? What do you even like? The argument of like people like you're not even in Missouri. Who gives a bleep? What are you talking?
Neither are lots of places.
Nobody said they were the soccer capital of Missouri, you jackass. No, they're the soccer capital of this damn country. All right, go back to being lowercase little brother.
Bad barbecue too.
I mean, terrible.
I mean, seriously, they outside of toasted
How
wraps.
would you know? I would never even try it.
Nor would I. You know the best barbecue place in St. Louis, right?
when you drive 4 hours
west on I-70 and stop anywhere. Yeah. So you go to St. Louis, and then you get on I-70, you drive roughly 4 hours west and go anywhere, and that's the best barbecue in St. Louis. So,
or you just get like some barbecue here and you drive there, right?
Yeah,
just get
right.
Jack Stack and Joe's or whatever, and then just keep it in the to-go box.
Literally had the best barbecue I've ever had staying at a hotel in St. Louis. Really? Yeah, I took Joe's to go there, and I had so good. You should totally check that out. Yeah, it's on your way out of town depending on where you're located. You know.
I will also point out Memphis is very overrated. Memphis is not ideal.
North Carolina's overrated. I don't need the vinegar. All right. Give me the molasses. All right.
I like both.
I'm a molasses guy. All right, it's all about the thickness. heading up until 6, a little bonus hour. Bethany Bowman on the mic tonight. And then Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers. Kawhi Leonard out tonight. So series tied at 2-2. Kawhi not playing there with the Mavericks making the wild comeback in the previous game. Down 31, taking the lead, and still losing. You come back from 31.
I'll take your word for it.
You come back from down 31,
stories.
you might as well win, right? If you're down 31 and you come back and take the lead, you might as well win it at that point.
Should be a rule. It should be over.
Yeah,
you do win.
Losing doesn't seem like the smart way of going about it in the playoffs. So
you can't lose and expect to win in the NFL.
Thank
I learned
you,
that from Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer.
Yeah,
That's
learned
right.
that from him.
Thank you, Trent Dilfer. Yep. And look, this offense, if they're going to be successful, they're going to be scoring more points than the other team. There was who did say that this is a team you're going to have to outscore your opponents.
Well, I mean, sometimes when you
Was it that said you have to
win,
outscore
you
your
actually lose.
That's right, Rosie. Well,
So
what
if
about
you lose? You actually win.
Okay.
Sometimes
You
when
know,
you
it says that
tie,
one.
you win or lose.
Well, what happens if you win or lose?
Sometimes you tie.
Oh, I get it now. Yes.
You know what you say when you say sometimes you lose and you still win?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The losers. No one has ever once won and like, now you know what?
I don't think
I
Rosie
lost.
Perez was a loser in that movie. She won a lot of money on Jeopardy because she was very smart and she knew foods that started with the letter Q.
Quinoa.
She studied that.
Quinoa.
What is it? Quiche. Yeah, but there was an NFL analyst on SportsCenter that I can't remember what it was, that said
Was it Matt Rule?
No, it wasn't Matt Rule. No, it was like an
trying to
analyst
look through
that said that
Reddit.
you're going to have to, if you're going to win, you're going to have to outscore your opponents. But he was talking like what he meant
Yeah.
to say is like you're going to get in a shootout.
Yes,
right.
yes,
Your
yeah.
offense. But he's like, look, you're going to have to outscore your opponents there.
And they will have to score less than you.
If you're going to win, typically.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you win, as Mick said, you actually lose. Because it can be a Pyrrhic victory. You can win a game but lose your best player. Did you win? I bet you'd rather lost that game but kept your best player, right?
I would have rather won and kept my best player. I actually would have liked
Wasn't a
both.
choice.
Well,
No.
that's the one I choose.
It wasn't a choice. You didn't get 3 choices. You only got 1. 913-912-4810. We were talking some Chiefs in the previous hour. Did you guys see the Milwaukee Brewers game last night? Mick, I think you saw this one, right? You ever heard of
Diamondbacks game?
Yes, the B delay.
Yeah, we're
Was
not talking
great.
about that game
We will
now.
in a
Okay.
little bit. But you familiar with Tyler Black?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Tyler Black plays for the Brewers, and he made his Major League debut yesterday for the Brew Crew. His dad is Rod Black, and he is a hockey TV announcer. So he's got some history in broadcasting. Well, they decided to interview Rod Black while his son was at the plate.
I can't imagine doing that.
And here's how it sounded last night.
Yeah, I think hand-eye from hockey also helps. There's a base hit to right field for my boy, Tyler Black. There you go. Oh, there you go. 2 for 2. Happy birthday, Nancy.
Oh, there you go.
Incredible. He's got tears in his eyes, guys. This is an incredible moment for the Black family. Congratulations to you guys. What a fantastic day.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think we're going to start drinking heavily.
Welcome to Milwaukee. Get right in.
We love Milwaukee. We love Milwaukee. We're never leaving.
They are the
Oh,
Brewers.
how cool was that?
He's
He's
lame.
calling his sons at bat, and he gets a hit. I mean, come on.
Yeah, 2 for 2. He's my kind of guy, right?
So when I first saw it,
So that wasn't his first plate appearance.
right, when I first saw it, I thought this is his first major league hit, and they're interviewing his dad, calling. My first thought was, it seems a little intrusive. Like, can you just let him enjoy his son's first at bat and first
Well,
hit?
and it's up to him. He can say, no,
Yeah.
I want to be there biting my
Right.
fingernails down with the
But
rest
already
of our
got
family.
the first hit. So second
he
at
comes
bat,
up, okay.
they were interviewing him. His son comes up in that inning, and he just takes the mic, and he's talking about big hockey family. So he does hockey TV, and that's when he was saying, he's like, I think the hockey swing, the hand-eye coordination, and there's a hit from my boy.
And so he was being interviewed. He wasn't doing play-by-play.
No, he was being interviewed
but
in
once
the
the hit
stands.
happened,
Yeah,
they
take a
let
listen.
it go, and they
Yeah.
let him
So
call the base hit.
she was talking with him, and then as he was sort of talking, then he just had the microphone in his hand as the hit went through.
I think hand-eye from hockey also helps. There's a base hit to right field for my boy, Tyler Black.
So he's in the stands.
He's in the stands sitting next to his family.
I was thinking he was up in the booth.
Right. No, he's in the stands. Sorry.
Okay.
Did a terrible job sort of setting that scene.
Yeah, you did.
That's fine. It was a visual, which is great, theater of the mind. But he's sitting there with his family. And so the sideline, the Joe Goldberg, goes over and is
Those
talking
are the
with
best
them.
parts of every season.
Yes.
Lately for the Royals, I'd like for there to be some playoff wins. They would trump them.
Was it last year when there was like 50 debuts for the
There
Royals?
were a lot of them, man.
Let's get to know this family.
Lead the league, and that's what they lead the league is debuts every single year.
Debuts. Yeah,
but that and then the servicemen coming home. Those can't get old, right? Or the walk-ons getting their scholarships.
Those are the
three things.
Yep.
I watch those over and over again. They don't get old.
The fourth one you can throw into the Deion Sanders telling the kid to leave, that he's no longer has a scholarship, that you need to transfer.
I was going the opposite route.
That's the fourth one, right?
Because there's lots of those.
Yeah,
too.
there was like 53 of them, right? So I mean, there's a lot of those. So you got major league debut, first hit, servicemen returning home, servicemen and women returning home. You've got scholarship walk-ons getting a scholarship, and then Deion telling him that you're old furniture, you need to leave, please, because we're bringing in Louis Vuitton.
There's actually a fifth one, and because it happens super often, actually,
Yeah.
it's very common. When someone becomes Jason's new co-host, I think that's the fifth one.
Family, yes, thank you.
And I've watched it over and over again, right here.
I cry every time.
Did you see?
I'm so happy somebody else is here.
Do you see Deion on the X now just taking shots at just different kids? Like Deion Sanders.
I thought he was taking a shot at me. I'm like, what the hell did I do?
I actually wouldn't be
I'm
surprised.
the one bringing in Louis.
Yeah, Deion's just talking smack on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
About his son and how, like, what have you done? Well, my son's about to be a top 5 draft pick. Like, and that relates to in relation to him going 4-8 last year. That was his comeback, as if like, so you care more about your son being drafted than the good,
absolutely.
the record of Colorado.
Yeah,
good head coach.
It's a little Calipari-ish. Calipari. Yeah. The greatest night in Kentucky basketball history was when they had 5 first-round draft picks. I think the Kentucky fans would disagree. I think they disagree with you on that one because, you didn't make the Final Four that year, but whatever. Anyway.
Would a good honorable mention for these like moments that are feel-good be late, like 3rd to 7th round draft picks sitting at home? And when they get their draft, when they didn't think they were going to get drafted.
The home videos of the draft picks when they are crying and everything, like Kingsley was very emotional with his family. Getting the phone call, those are always cool. Love to hear that. Was it Jared Wiley was like, I'm shaking right now, Coach. I can't even talk.
Was it Brian Burns, the DB for the Lions, who stayed the night? Brian Branch.
Yep.
The only guy... Because there were 3 or 4 of them who didn't get drafted. They went home.
Yes, they went home.
After the first round. He stayed the night in Kansas City.
Will Levis went home, right?
Yes, Will Levis went home. He stayed the night. He got drafted then and came to the podium. He owned it. And
walked out and gave the hug and everything.
I was like, I'm going to cheer for that guy's entire career. And then the first game of the year happened. I'm like, I'm done with this guy.
Pick 6 to hell with him. This guy's getting too familiar with Kansas City. He's getting too comfortable around here.
Don't bring him back.
They did that on the Americas game for the Chiefs. Chris Jones went through the exact same thing, and his dad said, you're staying, and you're going to walk across the stage.
He came out and gave the big bear hug.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, Chris Jones did. The bear himself, who kills offensive linemen for a living, according to Kingsley.
Good callback.
What about the sprinter pulls his or her hammy in the middle of a race and finishes it off, or like the dad that comes out of the stand and helps them. I think that's only happened once that I can know of, but I'll watch it again.
Tearjerker, absolute tearjerker, man.
What about when who was a horse? Was it Secretariat?
Yeah, Secretariat. That was a horse. You were correct.
Was that the one where the super fast one?
Yeah, Secretariat's fastest horse, has the record.
Yeah, when you watch that video of Secretariat, you tear up a little bit.
Do you?
It's graceful.
I can tell that you clearly tear up. You have an emotional connection with the Secretariat horse.
It's impressive.
So tight with him.
Yes,
we're boys. Me and Secretariat go way back.
Done a lot of history and studying on Secretariat.
Big horse guy, obviously.
Yeah, was it Secretariat?
What decade was Secretariat?
Gotta be the 80s. Gotta be the 80s.
The 70s. You're close.
I was 70s was my first guess.
Yeah, 70s was not your first guess. It was
80s,
literally 80s was your first guess.
In my mind. I go, but it's probably not 70s. It's got to be 80s.
It's got to be the 80s.
Got to be the 80s.
More of affirmed or Alidar? Alidar affirmed? Which one would you be more of a fan of?
I do know that Secretariat's heart was so big. Right. It had a big heart.
That's exactly right. Like Affirmed, before American Pharaoh, Affirmed was the last Triple Crown winner, and it was terrible for Alidar because Alidar Affirmed rivalry is one of the greatest rivalries in the history of sports. Alidar finished second in all 3 races to Affirmed.
Well,
and
it can't be
affirmed
that
won
good
the
of a
Triple Crown.
rivalry, yeah.
It was a great rival because they were back and forth and everything. They were close races, and if it wasn't for Affirmed, Alydar would have been the last Triple Crown winner for so long until American Pharaoh, right? I mean, everybody knows this.
Well, I'm a Secretariat guy. I just
Obviously.
that's my.
It's your wheelhouse, really.
Yeah, I'm an American Pharaoh guy because American Pharaoh broke the streak, and I was there. And I have the Belmont $2 win ticket on American Pharaoh. I did not cash it.
I'm the one they made the movie about. Was it Tobey Maguire was the jockey? Who was it? Which movie was that? Which horse was it about?
That would have been Seattle Slew. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Was it Seattle Slew?
No, it was not.
I just know that Jim.
It was earlier than all those horses.
Oh, Alydar.
No.
Affirmed.
No.
For a big horse guy, Jason, you really.
I'm not a big horse guy. I
here.
never claimed to be. I don't have this emotional connection to Secretariat. No, I have an emotional connection to American Pharaoh.
I thought you were an Esquitarian.
No, I'm not. I don't even equestrian.
Question. Oh, that's getting marked.
No, that's your tax thing, dude.
No, I'm ambidextrous. Is what you're. I'm amphibious. Is what you were thinking.
Yeah.
An esquitarian.
Maybe you should move on to a different animal. You're not exactly hitting home runs here.
Yes.
Big gazelle guy.
Yes. I don't know what was the movie? Was it about Secretariat with Tobey Maguire?
It was not Secretariat. It was earlier. It was about a horse earlier, maybe like the 50s or 60s.
Well, I mean, there were a lot of horses that came along. This is like the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby, so
yeah.
Famous horses.
Famous horses. Hoof-hearted is
Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit, of course. Seabiscuit. See the old Seabiscuit.
The old Seabiscuit. The
I
old
knew it-
river.
I
The
knew there was-
old man.
Knew there was a B in there. Seabiscuit. Thank you to the texters that are all saying Seabiscuit as well. So, I think it's Seabiscuit is what we're going to go with.
Tobey
there.
Maguire, I got that part right.
Yeah, you did.
See,
Yeah.
I know my role. I stick to humans.
Yes,
Sterling.
We'll see who wins the big Kentucky Derby equestrian Esquitarian race coming up on Saturday. Episcopalian.
Are you esoteric?
Is Friday
Do you even esoteric, bro?
Is Friday the running of the Pentecostal, or is it is that Thursday? What's
I
what's
feel
the
like
502
Charles
day?
Barkley right now. This is you're Ernie, you're Shaq, and this is just
Kenny over there.
That's Kenny. Next thing we're talking about San Antonio.
What about it? Oh yeah, that's right.
The women
Chuck. Chuck. That's right.
Galveston most recently.
Speaking of horses.
Galveston, yeah.
All right, I think we'll take a time out and we'll regroup there, and we'll get into you guys want to break down more.
Are we gonna hit the home stretch here? Have we hit the quarter pole?
And then what about down the stretch? Like, I mean,
Down the stretch we go.
The quarter pole is often misquoted because the
is,
quarter
yeah.
pole isn't actually a quarter away into it; it's the quarter left. So when people are like, "Oh, when it used to be 16 games in a season, Sterling," and people are like, "Oh, fourth of the way, they're at the quarter pole." No, that would be
quarter pole.
Yeah, that would be week 12.
Sterling knew all this. What are we talking about?
Also, it's
Called
not
the dime pole.
Also,
The
it's
dime
not
pole.
chomping at the bit; it's champing at the bit. It's not
Spelled champing.
It's champing at the bit.
Spelled with an A.
You know, because it is about horses with biting down on the bit, they're champing on the bit. Anyway,
You sound like a horse guy.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not.
sound like a big
Not at
horse
all.
guy.
You
No.
look like a horse guy, sound like a horse guy.
Thank you. I've always said that about John Elway, but he wasn't into Esquitarians either.
No.
Jason Anderson here with The Zone. It's Sterling Holmes. It's Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director. Dylan Michaels running the show. You all right, though?
Yeah, I just
good.
Breathed.
Yeah, it happens. I'm glad that you were finally breathing.
Try not to.
Yes.
Show.
As we went to break, I was like, well, don't hold your breath. Is this next segment getting any better? And so you finally then started to breathe. So that's good. Good for you, man. Good for you. 913-912-4810, the text line. We won't be able to get into some text in this last segment, so I apologize if some were now going to – hell, let me go and text in now that he did that. But last night, the B delay.
Yeah.
I've apparently there was – we had talked about it earlier, but like in the first – apparently there was a game that was canceled at some point because of a bee sort of flying around. Like they couldn't just – they didn't all collect
there was one
in
with
a
the
colony.
Royals and I think the Rockies, right, several years ago.
Was it a delay or
canceled?
It was a game that was canceled because the bees were just sort of flying around. They weren't stopping. They didn't collect in like a colony. Right. They didn't try to colonize a net, a random net. That seems dumb. Like, why would you stop there?
Yeah.
Go somewhere else, right? I mean, and do they typically sort of just like, you know what, this is a nice little net right here. There's a nice little rope.
What happened? Do you think maybe a kid tossed some candy, maybe with some honey on it from the third deck down onto the net and just kind of gathers there?
Yes.
It was Winnie the
and
Pooh
one
night.
bee saw
there's
it.
so much trash that, yes.
Yeah.
It had to be Winnie the Pooh night the night before, and so
people just walking around with just a shirt on?
jars of honey, yeah.
Did you see what the Mariners tweeted about this?
No.
They tweeted, as much as they could, the entire script to B-movie. I mean, you have to scroll. I mean, it's got to be at least half an hour of script to B-movie, if not longer. And I know B-movie.
Do you?
I've never seen it. We had a Ford Explorer that my oldest son, when he was 3 or 4.
Bragger. He had a Ford Explorer as a 3-year-old?
No, we had it.
Jesus.
He had 76 cents in his hand, and he put it in the DVD player.
Oh, no!
And it got stuck. The movie would play, but we couldn't get it out. So we watched B-movie, no less, and I'm not exaggerating here, no less than 200 times. And I never really saw it for the first 190 times because I'm driving.
That's right.
And it's in the back. I know that movie inside and out by heart, word for word. So when our partners are doing it, I'm like, oh, well, this is B-movie. I'm like, oh, God, they're doing the entire movie.
The entire thing? Oh, my God. I did enjoy that.
They were the opponent, correct? It was Diamondbacks.
No, it was Diamondbacks Dodgers.
So Mariners just did it.
Mariners decided to
did it.
Let's just insert very Seattle to do. Let's insert ourselves into this conversation that isn't really about us. I don't even know if that's
very
right.
Very grunge of them.
No reason for me to take a shot at Seattle. I have no idea if that's true or not. But,
catching strays.
But I did like in Arizona though in the stadium, they kept playing music that had B in it, like "Let It Be" by the Beatles was one of the songs.
I'm a Bee, probably by the Black Eyed Peas.
Did you hear what they were playing when the guy was up there taking him out?
No.
I Need a Hero.
I Need a Hero.
I need a hero. And people are just cheering him on. It was the coolest thing. And then he started the first pitch.
He started waving the crowd and getting the crowd hype. He ripped off the bee mask and everything. Like he's an equestrian.
First off, we should do a segment where people just send in words and I have to read them. I think that'd be a pretty good bit to get the crowd involved.
Or just names and I have to get them right.
Just names. That'd be very difficult.
That'd be bad for me.
It reminds you of San Antonio. Little callback to San Antonio since I'm Charles Barkley today, apparently. When they have bats, and they had like Manu Ginobili, and then the mascot try and catch bats. Anyone else remember the Spurs doing this? This happens.
I remember this. Yeah,
it happens like once a year in San Antonio for some reason, where a bat gets into the arena.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
They have a bat catcher. It's great.
I'm trying to. Let me see how this how it sounds here.
Well, let's break down the pronunciation.
All right. Well, nope, that's not supposed to be. I just want to know the
What was that,
pronunciation.
Jason?
Apiarist, a pyrist. That's a beekeeper.
Right.
Kevin Apier.
I would say apiarist.
Apiarist is how I would say it, right? That's how I would.
It's a new movie, by the way, with Jason Statham called The Beekeeper.
What is it?
Apiarist.
Apiarist. Oh, I'm an apiarist.
Yeah.
I loved Kevin Apier back in the day. An apiarist. Why didn't they get Apier there to help out? You know why it never happened at Kauffman Stadium? Because they had an apiarist.
They did.
Already there, ready to go. There you go. We accomplished a lot this hour.
Yeah, we did.
A lot more than I thought we would. So it was where the level was.
You're the queen bee. We're just your workers.
Yeah. Oh, my God. It was a big story. The Mets hold a $1 hot dog night at Citi Field. Good for them. Their hot dogs are typically $15, so it's a little bit of a bigger deal for them to have
Huge
a $1
deal.
hot dog night.
First,
It's not even $25 for this hot dog.
first 10 people get 'em.
It's actually just a souvenir $1 hot dog.
Right.
You don't actually get to eat it because they have a pretty decent markup on those hot dogs. Well, thank you, Mick. I appreciate you joining
Hey,
us.
I appreciate being here and learning about horses with
Yeah.
you, Sterling.
Big horse guy.
Yeah, big horse.
Who do you got winning the Derby on Saturday?
Schmerker Fernburn. Yeah, really good.
That's the favorite.